Chapter 1832. Lu Ming's Second True Disciple. Chapter 1832. Lu Ming's Second True Disciple. Lu Ming nodded in his heart. Ouyang Moli knew how to repay kindness. He had a good character, and was to his liking. All right, since you insist on taking me as your master, I'll take you in as my disciple. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said, the scion of samsara was a rare existence in the world. Since ancient times, there had only been a handful of such prodigies. Lu Ming was also very tempted. He pondered for a moment, and then nodded in agreement. However, I will still pass on the inheritance of that senior to you. You must also respect that senior as your master, understand? Lu Ming said. Master. Ouyang Moli was overjoyed. I understand. Master. Get up. Lu Ming instructed and Ouyang Moli stood up obediently. Before you, I've already taken in 2 unnamed disciples and 1 true disciple. In the future, you'll be ranked second among the true disciples. Do you understand? Lu Ming continued. Understood, Master. Ouyang Moli said respectfully. Let's talk about you. Your surname is Ouyang, so you should be a member of the Divine Yuan Empire's royal family. Why did those people treat you like that? Lu Ming asked. Since he had accepted Ouyang Moli as his disciple, he naturally had to understand his situation. Master, although I'm member of the imperial family, I'm only a branch of the imperial family. Following that, Ouyang Moli began to explain. The Divine Origin Empire's Ouyang royal family had developed and multiplied for countless years, giving birth to countless branches. Their population was already so large that it was hard to imagine. Ouyang Moli was from one of the branches. However, a few years ago, his parents were killed by the Daluo Heaven sect while they were cultivating outside. Now he was the only one left in his branch. In the past few years, he had relied on his identity as a descendant of the Ouyang family to obtain a job in the palace. Unfortunately, he had not been able to awaken his bloodline. After so many years of hard work, he had only reached the warrior realm. Furthermore, he was all alone, so he was often bullied by others. He had always been patient, hoping that one day he would awaken his bloodline and soar into the sky. At the same time, he would avenge his parents. This time, due to his hard work, the higher-ups had rewarded him with a stabilizing pill. He hoped to use this stabilizing pill to awaken his bloodline, but he was surrounded by the yellow-robed youth and the others, who wanted to snatch his stabilizing pill. The yellow-robed youth and the others were also from the Ouyang royal family. However, they were able to awaken their bloodline, so their cultivation was naturally far above Ouyang Moli's. Lu Ming nodded silently. Such things happened all the time in the entire Yuan continent. Wasn't he the same back then? Fortunately, Lu Ming had discovered him this time. Otherwise, an unparalleled genius would have been buried. In fact, this world had never lacked heaven's favorites. It just depended on whether they could be discovered. Since ancient times, there had been countless heaven's favorites who had been buried. Some physiques and geniuses had been outstanding since young, and had displayed rare talents. Naturally, they would not be buried. They would be discovered by important people and focused on training. However, there were some physiques and bloodlines that were hidden and could not be developed without a strong support. For example, Ouyang Moli's reincarnation bloodline was hidden. Moreover, he was from a branch of the Ouyang imperial family, so no one paid attention to him. Others would think that he was a good-for-nothing. If he had not met Lu Ming this time, and the reincarnation halberd had a reaction, Lu Ming would not have discovered him. If this continued, in a few more decades, this peerless genius would be buried. Therefore, some powerful forces would send experts to travel the world in search of heaven's favorites. Back then, wasn't Qiuyu discovered by the only divine temple's powerhouse in this way? In the future, if I succeed in my cultivation, I will definitely find the Daluo Heaven sect and avenge my parents. Ouyang Moli clenched his fists tightly. Then you have to cultivate well. I'll pass on an inheritance to you first. Sit tight, Lu Ming said. Ouyang Moli sat down immediately. Then, Lu Ming took out the world core of the reincarnation emperor and sealed it in Ouyang Moli's sea of consciousness with his powerful cultivation. Ouyang Moli's entire body immediately emitted a black light. A vortex spun nonstop above his head. It was as black as ink, as if it was leading to the abyss of hell. Buzz! Not long after, the vortex suddenly trembled and split into two. After a while another vortex split out and became 3 vortexes. Every time the vortex split, Oyang Moli's aura would increase. Just like that, a few hours later, a total of 6 vortexes appeared above Oyang Moli's head. 6 paths of reincarnation. Lu Ming muttered, his eyes glistening. This was the true 6 paths reincarnation bloodline. Emoli's cultivation has already reached the martial king realm. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Oyang Moli had only just started to merge with the world core of the reincarnation emperor. But his cultivation had already increased explosively, reaching the martial king realm. After another 2 hours, Oyang Moli finally opened his eyes. My cultivation! Oyang Moli could feel the endless power in his body, and his eyes were filled with shock. Emoli, you've just fused with the world core, and your cultivation has skyrocketed. However, you can't lose yourself. During this time, you'll stay in my mountain and river diagram, and familiarize yourself with your own power. Don't increase your cultivation for now, Lu Ming urged. It wasn't a good thing for his cultivation to rise too quickly. He had to stabilize his foundation. Yes, master. Oyang Moli bowed and accepted the order. Okay, you should cultivate well. If you have any problems, you can find me at any time. Also, this reincarnation halberd is for you to use. Lu Ming took out the reincarnation halberd and handed it to Oyang Moli. Naturally, Oyang Moli was grateful. Lu Ming, on the other hand, went to the path understanding ancient tree and quietly studied the chaotic finger of tribulation. Time passed day by day. Every once in a while, Lu Ming would go to the array world and watch Oyang Wushuang train the army. The 30,000-strong army was divided into 2 groups. One group had 25,000 people to continue practicing the Sky Tiger roaring formation. The other 5,000 people were taken away by Oyang Wushuang to practice the true dragon battle formation in secret. In the blink of an eye, the 2-month training period was up. On this day, Lu Ming, Huang Ling, Long Chun, and the geniuses of the Purple Flame Villa all entered the world of formations. They and Oyang Wushuang were standing on high ground, and below them was the army of 30,000. Let's go! Under Oyang Wushuang's command, the 30,000-strong army set off and rolled into the distance. At the same time, 2 other armies from 2 different directions also headed toward the center of the formation world. Not long after, the 3 armies met in the center of the formation world. The 3 armies formed a triangle, facing each other, and no one dared to make a move. To the left of Lu Ming's group was an army clad in purple armor. At a glance, it looked like a purple ocean. It was the army led by the first prince Oyang Wudao. On their right was an army in silver armor. It was the army led by Oyang Wuji. 6th brother, 9th brother, you'd better surrender. The position of crown prince will be mine this time. You can't compete with me. An overbearing voice came from the purple army. Chapter 1833. Attacking the First Prince's Camp. Chapter 1833. Attacking the First Prince's Camp. Oyang Wudao. Oyang Wushuang murmured. On the side, the heaven's favorites from the Purple Flame Villa had a serious look in their eyes. The first prince, Oyang Wudao, was extremely talented and had a profound cultivation. He was domineering and decisive, and he had the support of the Daluo Heaven sect. He was the most promising candidate for the crown prince position. Big brother, it's not the Oyang family's style to surrender before the battle. If Big brother wants to be the crown prince, then let us see if you have the strength to do so. Oyang Wuji's voice came from the Silver Army. Big brother, if you want to become the crown prince and take control of the Xinyuan Empire, then show me your strength. Oyang Wushuang also said. You're so stubborn. Oyang Wudao's voice was very cold. He was tall and sturdy, wearing a purple robe, and was filled with dignity. Oyang Wuji and Oyang Wushuang thought that they could compete with the first prince just because they had the support of the only divine temple and the Purple Flame Villa. What a joke! I will make them regret this. A cold-looking young man beside Oyang Wudao said. He was a heaven's favorite of the Daluo Heaven sect. He had a terrifying talent and was very famous in the ancient sun-sacred land. The 3 sides confronted each other, and no one made a move. All three sides had an army of 30,000, and their cultivations were all at the LV1 martial royal realm. Their strengths were almost the same, and no one had the confidence to fight the other two sides alone in a head-on battle. This meeting was just a test. After a while, the three forces retreated at the same time. Lu Ming and the rest retreated to the military camp. In the camp, Ouyang Wushuang and a few of his confidants, Lu Ming, Long Chen, Huang Ling, and the Heaven's favorites from the Purple Flame Villa gathered together to discuss a strategy. I think that the current plan is to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. We won't move and defend the camp. When the first prince and the sixth prince fight, and both sides are injured, we can clean up the mess and take the first round. Xiao Mucheng, the leader of the Purple Flame Villa, said. Waiting for the other two sides to fight each other? Haha, what a joke. How can they be so stupid? I'm guessing they have the same idea as us. They want to wait for the other two sides to fight, so that they can reap the benefits. If this continues, it will only be a stalemate. Lu Ming said. Xiao Mucheng's face sank and he said, Oh, then what do you think we should do? Take the initiative and attack. Lu Ming said indifferently. Haha, taking the initiative to attack. What a joke. Lu Ming, although you're strong and I admire you, you're still a little weak when it comes to leading troops into battle. You just said that the other two parties are also waiting for us to fight each other. They want to reap the benefits from the battle. If we take the initiative to attack, no matter which party we attack, we will be helping the third party. You are contradicting yourself. Xiao Mucheng sneered. The paragons of the Purple Flame Villa also sneered. I want to break the stalemate. If it continues, no one knows how long it will last. I want to end it quickly and win the first round. That's the way to go. Lu Ming said. Win the first round. How to get it? I'm afraid that we'll be the first to be eliminated if we follow your method. Xiao Mucheng sneered. Lu Ming casually glanced at Xiao Mucheng and then ignored him. He looked at Ouyang Wushuang and said, Ninth Prince, I suggest that we attack the first prince's army first. But we can't make it too obvious. We should send scouts to gather information first, and then attack in the dark. All right, let's do that. The ninth prince said. This was the countermeasure that he had come up with to curry favor with Lu Mingshang. Of course, he could not say it out now. If it were to spread, their plan would be ruined. Ninth prince, you can't do this. You'll definitely lose. Xiao Mucheng's expression changed drastically as he shouted, hoping to stop Ouyang Wushuang. That's right. You can't do this. You're seeking your own destruction. Ninth prince, please reconsider. The other Heaven's favorites from the Purple Flame Villa also chimed in. Don't worry, everyone. I know what I'm doing. There's no need to persuade me. He said. Ouyang Wushuang waved his hand. Ninth prince, if you lose in the first round, the rest will be difficult. Ninth prince, you have to think this through. Xiao Mucheng said with a sullen face. This prince's mind is set. Ouyang Wushuang said. Since that's the case, we won't say anything more. It seems like the crown prince's position will fall into the hands of the first and sixth prince. Xiao Mucheng sighed. From the looks of it, they were definitely going to lose. Ouyang Wushuang did not say much, and immediately sent out scouts to find out about Ouyang Wudao's army. For the next few days, news about Ouyang Wudao kept coming in. For the past few days, Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji's army had been stationed in the military camp, without any unusual movements. In Ouyang Wudao's tent, they were also discussing the military situation. First Prince, the ninth prince has been sending scouts around the area to find out more about us. I'm afraid they're going to take action soon. One of them reported to Ouyang Wudao. I think the ninth prince is trying to ambush us. A sovereign of the Daluo Heaven sect said. Sneak attack us? Haha. Then let's beat him at his own game. Ninth brother, you're still too impulsive, haha. Ouyang Wudao burst out laughing. In the blink of an eye, the three sides were in a stalemate for 7 days. On the night of the 7th day, Ouyang Wushuang sent a trusted aide to lead an army of 25,000 to Ouyang Wudao's camp. In the dead of the night, Ouyang Wushuang's army arrived not far from the first prince's camp. From afar it seemed very peaceful. Some people were resting, while others were patrolling. Charge! The commander was one of Ouyang Wushuang's trusted men, called Luan Fei. With a wave of his hand, the army charged towards the first prince's camp at full speed. Not good enemy attack. And MBSB those patrolling noticed the army, and their expressions changed as they shouted, "Kill! Kill!" Luan Fei roared and charged forward with his army. Those patrolling guards were killed, and turned into rays of light, disappearing from this place. In the array world, once you were killed, you would leave this place. Before the end of this competition, you could not enter this place a second time. Charge in! Luan Fei roared as he led his army into the first prince's camp. Terrifying attacks converged together and exploded toward the tents. If there was anyone in the tent, they would have been blown to pieces. Boom! Boom! The tent exploded, but there was no one inside. Not good, we've been tricked. Retreat! Frenzied Flight's expression changed as he roared. It's too late to find out now. Kill! The first prince appeared in the sky and gave the order. Whoosh! 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 From the ground, endless sword chi burst out and slashed toward Ouyang Wushuang's army. At the same time, countless attacks exploded down from the sky, blasting towards the army. Instantly, screams rang out as large swaths of soldiers were killed. In the blink of an eye, thousands of people had been killed. Kill! From all directions, there were figures and all kinds of terrifying attacks poured towards them. They were like living targets. Chapter 1834. Chapter 1834. Betting on himself. Chapter 1834. Chapter 1834. Betting on himself. Set up the formation. Set up the formation. Luan Fei roared and gathered his troops, wanting to form the Heavenly Tiger Sky Roaring Formation. Stop them! Ouyang Wudao's voice rang out again. Roar! Roar! Shocking roars rang out as Ouyang Wudao's army also formed into a formation. In the sky, a huge phoenix spread its wings and flew down, pouncing on Ouyang Wushuang's army. At the same time, the ground rolled and a huge black turtle appeared. With one palm, a large number of people were slapped away. As long as they were killed, they would turn into rays of light and fly into the sky, disappearing from the world. From the front and back, roars could be heard as an azure dragon and a white tiger rushed over. Four symbols formation. Frenzied Sword's face turned pale. The four symbols formation was a terrifying formation. When a great army joined forces, they would form the four symbols of heaven and earth. When they gathered together, their power would be extremely terrifying. It was much stronger than the Heavenly Tiger Sky Roaring Formation. When the four divisions appeared, they completely separated Ouyang Wushuang's army. They were cut into pieces, and it was difficult for them to gather together. Set up the formation, set up the formation. And MBSB Sky Tiger Roar. Flying chaos roared as the separated army set up the Sky Tiger Roar formation. Instantly, Sky Tigers appeared, and there were more than 10 of them. However, the army had been split up, each fighting their own battles. The Heavenly Tiger Heaven Roaring formation that had been set up was much weaker, and was completely suppressed by the four symbols formation. The phoenix spread its wings and clawed down. A Heaven Tiger was crushed. The soldiers who formed the Heaven Tiger formation screamed one after another. Many of them were killed, and turned into light before disappearing. Even more people were injured, but the formation had been broken, so it was even more difficult to stop it. The phoenix opened its mouth, and terrifying flames spread out. Large groups of soldiers were turned into ashes in the flames, turning into light and disappearing. On the other side, the azure dragon, the black tortoise, and the white tiger were also doing the same. They were completely crushing and continuously harvesting lives. For a time, dense light shot into the sky, extremely bright. Damn it! Frenzied Flight roared, and brought his men to charge forward. Unfortunately, it was useless. They were blocked in all directions, and could only be killed. In less than half an hour, the 25,000-man army had been completely annihilated, and it was the same for Frenzied Flight, who turned into a ray of light and disappeared. On the other hand, Ouyang Wudao's army had only lost less than 2,000 men. Reporting to the first prince, Ouyang Wushuang is not in the army. Someone reported to the first prince. How many people did you kill? Ouyang Wudao asked. More than 25,000, ha ha good. Even if ninth brother isn't dead, he's crippled. There are only a few thousand people left. He can only be an audience for this round. Ouyang Wudao laughed heartily. There would definitely be experts from the Xinyuan Empire, paying attention to the formation world. In this battle, he had annihilated Ouyang Wushuang's 25,000 troops, and held the initiative. Even if they did not fight, he would still be able to obtain victory in this stalemate. However, he wasn't going to let this stalemate continue. He was Ouyang Wudao, and he wanted to win beautifully. He wanted to use a crushing method to obtain the position of crown prince, and shock the entire Xinyuan Empire. The army will rest and reorganize. Then, we will set off and take down Ouyang Wushuang's camp. Ouyang Wudao ordered. The powerhouses who were paying attention to this place would definitely give them a score. The greater the advantage they had, the higher the score would be. However, he did not notice that two figures were watching them from a distance. They were Lu Ming and Ouyang Wushuang. The plan is going smoothly. Next, Ouyang Wudao will definitely send his army to occupy our camp. Let's go back and retreat. Lu Ming said. Alright, let's go. Ouyang Wushuang nodded, and the two of them left. As soon as they returned to the camp, Ouyang Wushuang gathered the remaining 5,000 soldiers and left the camp. They headed to the edge of the camp. There was a valley there that was very well hidden. If the 5,000 soldiers entered, they would not be discovered without careful inspection. In a temporary cave abode in the valley, Ouyang Wushuang, Lu Ming, and the others gathered together again to discuss the military situation. I told you that plan wouldn't work, but the 9th prince didn't listen to me. Now the 25,000 soldiers have all been wiped out. We're going to lose this battle. Xiao Muqing sneered in disdain. That's right. We had good intentions. But the 9th prince refused to listen, and used Lu Ming's plan instead. Now that he has suffered a crushing defeat, who should be responsible? This round was originally our chance. Our strength is almost the same. If we win this round, we will have a chance in the next few rounds. If the first prince wins the first round, we will have almost no chance of winning with the help of the talents of the Daluo Heaven sect. The paragons of the Purple Flame Villa spoke one after another, mocking and ridiculing Lu Ming. It's not even the end yet, and you're already so sure that we're going to lose? Lu Ming cast a casual glance at them, and spoke indifferently. There are only about 5,000 people left. How can we compete with the other two sides? And we even lost our barracks. If nothing goes wrong, we'll definitely be last in this round. Xiao Muqing sneered. Oh, since that's the case, why don't we have a bet? Lu Ming said. Bet? How to bet? What are we betting on? Xiao Muqing's eyes flashed as he asked. I bet that we will win this round. If I lose, I will become your subordinate and listen to your orders. How about it? Lu Ming said. These words made the others reveal shocked expressions. Lu Ming actually bet on himself. The eyes of the Purple Flame Villa's paragons were filled with a fiery light. Lu Ming's talent was obvious to all. He could control the laws of chaos, and was extremely powerful. If he were to grow up in the future, he would definitely become a terrifying expert. If such a person were to listen to them, it would be an irresistible temptation. Alright, we agree. Xiao Muqing directly agreed. Don't agree so quickly. I haven't told you the conditions for your loss. If you lose, you have to obey me. At the very least, for the next 50 years, you have to obey me unconditionally. What do you think? Lu Ming said. We won't lose at all. Xiao Muqing said. Nonsense. Since it's a bet, there must be a winner and a loser. Both of us have to take a blood oath. If we lose, we have to listen to each other. Lu Ming added. The eyes of the paragons from the Purple Flame Villa flickered. Finally, they reached a consensus and nodded to each other. Alright, we agree. Xiao Muqing said. They really could not think of any other way to win this round. From the current situation, they were definitely going to lose. They could not be a match for Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji. If he could get Lu Ming's loyalty, why not? Immediately, Lu Ming and the people of the Purple Flame Villa made a blood oath and set the bet. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a cold smile. The geniuses of the Purple Flame Villa were all very strong. Each of them had a medium-grade heavenly spiritual body. They had profound potential, and would not be weak in the future. Most importantly, if he could get these geniuses to work for him, It would be the same as having the purple flame villa in his hands. Chapter 1835. Chapter 1835. Strategizing. Chapter 1835. Chapter 1835. Strategizing. Alright, let's analyze the military situation now. After taking the blood oath, Lu Ming no longer paid attention to the people of the Purple Flame Villa. He waved his hand, and a map appeared in the sky. At the 3 corners of the map, there were 3 dots of light, representing the military camps of 3 parties. Their current location was quite a distance away from their own military camp. I believe that it won't be long before Ouyang Wudao sends his army to occupy our camp. This way, Ouyang Wudao will have the absolute advantage. Even if this stalemate continues, Ouyang Wudao will still obtain victory. However, this is not what Ouyang Wuji wants to see. If he wants to fight against Ouyang Wudao, he has to achieve a certain level of success. Therefore, Ouyang Wuji will not give up on our military camp. If he can obtain one, he will definitely get a high score. Lu Ming explained, and everyone listened carefully. However, with Ouyang Wudao's overbearing character, how could he hand over the fat meat that's already in his mouth? Now that we're no longer a threat to him, we're just struggling at death's door in their eyes. Therefore, in the end, they'll definitely launch a decisive battle in our camp. We'll then be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. When they're both injured, we can annihilate them in one fell swoop. Lu Ming explained the complete plan. The previous sacrifice of more than 20,000 people was to make the other 2 sides let down their guard against them. This way the other 2 sides would have a chance to fight. All of this is just your conjecture. Your conjecture is perfect, but the truth is cruel. Xiao Muqing sneered. Oh really? Let's just watch the show. 9th Prince, just send out scouts to keep an eye on the situation outside. Lu Ming said. Alright. Ouyang Wushuang nodded, and sent out scouts to gather information. Indeed, not long after, Ouyang Wudao led his army and occupied their camp. 9th brother ran pretty fast, but there are only a few thousand people left. There's no need to worry. They're just struggling on their last breaths. In the military camp, Ouyang Wudao said in disdain. The news of the battle between Ouyang Wushuang and Ouyang Wudao had also reached Ouyang Wuji. In Ouyang Wuji's military camp, everyone was also in a meeting. Ouyang Wushuang is really stupid. He actually attacked Ouyang Wudao and was annihilated instead. This way, Ouyang Wudao gained the upper hand. How hateful! Ouyang Wuji said unhappily. 6th Prince, what should we do next? Someone asked. Now, Ouyang Wushuang only has a few thousand people left. He abandoned the camp and fled, struggling on his last breath. He will definitely be the last one. There's no need to worry. And now, Ouyang Wudao has taken over Ouyang Wushuang's military camp with the battle merits of annihilating his 25,000-strong army. If this continues, the first place will definitely be his. Therefore, we can't give up on Ouyang Wushuang's military camp. As long as we can seize that military camp, we'll be able to compete with Ouyang Wudao in terms of battle merits. Moreover, we have the advantage in numbers. Only then will we have a chance to defeat Ouyang Wudao and obtain first place. Ouyang Wuji said. That's right. I suggest that we immediately send out our army and attack Ouyang Wushuang's camp in one fell swoop. The only heaven's favorite from the temple nodded. Immediately, Ouyang Wuji mobilized almost all of his army, leaving only a few thousand people to guard the camp. The rest of the army headed toward Ouyang Wushuang's camp. Not long after, Ouyang Wuji's army arrived near the camp. Thump! Boom! The sound of war drums reverberated in the military camp. Following that, a purple-colored army appeared in the air. The person in the lead was Ouyang Wudao. 6th brother, I knew you would come. Ouyang Wudao spoke. Oh really? It's a pity that you're only a small part of this army. As long as I can annihilate you and take this army, the final victory will be mine. Ouyang Wuji sneered as his eyes glowed with a fiery light. Is that so? Ouyang Wudao's lips curled up. With a wave of his hand, the war drum sounded again. Roar! Roar! A roar came from behind Ouyang Wuji's army. A white tiger and a black tortoise appeared in the sky. Behind Ouyang Wudao, the army had set up a formation. An azure dragon and a phoenix appeared. 4 symbols formation, You've called everyone here. Ouyang Wuji's expression changed. That's right, I'll annihilate all of your people here. Kill. Ouyang Wudao ordered. Set up the formation. Ouyang Wuji also gave the order. Immediately, Ouyang Wuji's army set up a formation, and a huge mantis appeared. This was the mantis battle formation. The two front claws of the mantis were like two heavenly blades, extremely sharp. Kill. Kill. The azure dragon, black tortoise, white tiger, and phoenix pounced towards the huge mantis. The huge mantis waved its front claws, as if it could cut through the void. The five giant beasts kept colliding with each other. Although the four symbols battle formation was powerful, it separated the number of people. Ouyang Wuji's formation, which consisted of nearly 30,000 people, was extremely powerful. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Both sides were trying their best to defeat each other. Now, Ouyang Wushuang was not a cause for concern. As long as they could defeat the other, they would gain the upper hand and obtain the first place. The two sides were fighting fiercely. Even in the middle of the battle, people were constantly dying, turning into light and disappearing. At this time, in a hidden valley, 5,000 soldiers had gathered and were ready to set out. Meanwhile, the scouts kept sending back news. Report. The first prince has already taken over our military camp. Report. The sixth prince has sent an army to attack our camp. Report. The sixth prince and the first prince have started fighting. The battle is brutal. As more and more news came, the faces of the geniuses of the Purple Flame Villa became uglier and uglier. It was because everything was exactly the same as Lu Ming's previous speculation. Even if the first prince and the sixth prince attack each other and injure each other, we only have 5,000 people left. We don't have the power to deal with them. Xiao Muqing said with a sullen face. Even if Lu Ming's speculation was correct, so what? In the end, they still had to rely on their true abilities. There were only 5,000 of them. It would be difficult to finish the battle. We'll know the result soon, so what's the hurry? Lu Ming said casually. Such an expression gave the proud sons of heaven of the Purple Flame Villa a bad feeling. Could it be that Lu Ming was really confident that there was something that they did not know? Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji's battle was getting more and more intense. Their eyes were bloodshot as they continued to kill each other's soldiers. The number of people on both sides was about the same. Ouyang Wudao had lost about 2,000 people previously, while Ouyang Wuji had left a portion of his men in the main camp. However, Ouyang Wudao's four symbols formation was indeed stronger. He slowly gained the upper hand. However, even though he gained the upper hand, he could not completely suppress them. The losses on both sides were increasing. Chapter 1836. Chapter 1836. Victory. Chapter 1836. Chapter 1836 Victory. The intense battle between the two sides continued for half an hour. Ouyang Wuji's side was gradually losing, and the number of people he killed was increasing. He was starting to be suppressed by Ouyang Wudao. In the end, the battle formations of both sides collapsed and turned into a chaotic battle. However, Ouyang Wudao had the advantage in numbers and still had the upper hand. Kill! Suddenly, a battle cry came from behind. Thousands of soldiers in silver armor charged over. They were the thousands of people that Ouyang Wuji had left behind to guard the military camp. Since the start of the battle, he had deployed these thousands of people over. With the addition of thousands of fresh troops, Ouyang Wuji managed to turn the tables. Both sides once again entered a heated battle. On the battlefield, rays of light continuously shot up into the sky, creating a gorgeous and colorful scene. The number of people on both sides was getting smaller and smaller. Slowly, the number of people on both sides dropped below 10,000, then to 8,000, then to 7,000. When the number dropped to 5 to 6,000, the two sides finally stopped fighting. They slowly retreated and faced each other from a distance. Sixth brother, I won the first round. Ouyang Wudao spoke. In the first round, he had secured first place with his battle achievements. Ouyang Wuji was a little unwilling, but he knew that he could not win against Ouyang Wudao in this round. However, he could at least obtain second place. Although he was left with 5 to 6,000 men, he had killed a large number of Ouyang Wudao's soldiers, and his battle merits were far above Ouyang Wushuang's. If he got second place, he might have a chance to win the next 2 rounds, as long as he grasped the opportunity. Roar! At this moment, a loud roar came from behind Ouyang Wuji's army, shaking the sky. Ouyang Wuji turned around, and his expression changed. He saw a black torrent rushing toward them. Ouyang Wushuang humph, he wants to take advantage of us and turn the tables. Big brother, why don't we join hands and completely destroy his hope? Ouyang Wuji sneered. Alright, since he wants to join in the fun, I'll completely destroy him. Ouyang Wudao coldly replied. He and Ouyang Wuji each had 5,000 to 6,000 men. Adding them together, they had more than 10,000 men. They could easily annihilate Ouyang Wuji's few thousand men. Thump! Thump! Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji's army charged toward Ouyang Wushuang from 2 different directions. The 3 different colored torrents were about to collide. Set up the formation. In the army, Ouyang Wushuang gave the order. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar resounded through the sky. A huge true dragon was formed in Ouyang Wushuang's army. This true dragon was blood red and full of cold killing intent. The true dragon was the first to charge toward Ouyang Wuji's army. If you want to attack me, I'll block you and surround you with Ouyang Wudao. We'll annihilate you in an instant. Ouyang Wuji laughed coldly. His army also formed a battle formation, and a mantis appeared. The blood-red true dragon and the mantis collided fiercely. However, the result shocked Ouyang Wuji. This was because the result of the collision was that the mantis formation on his side collapsed. Many people were killed by the terrifying power, turning into light and disappearing. How did this happen? Ouyang Wuji roared in disbelief. How could the enemy's battle formation be so powerful? The true dragon battle formation has always been powerful, and the other party has just experienced a bitter battle. Their true energy is not enough, and they are exhausted. Their combat power is less than half of their peak. So how can they fight against the true dragon battle formation? In the army, Lu Ming sneered. If the other party was at their peak and had about the same number of people, no matter how powerful the true dragon battle formation was, they would not be able to crush them. But now the other party's exhausted army was completely crushed. The dragon's roars continued to ring out as the blood-red true dragon's claw struck out continuously. Large groups of Ouyang Wuji's army were annihilated, turning into light and disappearing. At this moment, Ouyang Wudao's army had also arrived. Roar! The blood-red true dragon changed its direction and charged toward Ouyang Wudao's army. Ouyang Wudao's army was also exhausted. Similar to Ouyang Wuji, after being attacked by the blood-red true dragon, their battle formation was also on the verge of collapse. Not good retreat. Ouyang Wudao roared. Kill! How could Ouyang Wushuang let go of this opportunity? He led his army into a formation and charged into Ouyang Wudao's group. Every time the huge true dragon body attacked, a large number of soldiers would be killed. Ouyang Wuji, come and help! Ouyang Wudao roared. Retreat, retreat! At this moment, Ouyang Wuji couldn't care about Ouyang Wudao. He gathered the remnants of his troops and quickly retreated. Damn it! We've been tricked! Ouyang Wudao howled. At this moment, how could he not understand that he had fallen into a trap? Ouyang Wushuang actually had such a powerful battle formation. However, the 20,000 troops from before did not cultivate it. Instead, they cultivated the heavenly tiger roaring sky formation. From the beginning to the end, this had been a trap. The purpose was to make him and Ouyang Wuji fight each other. What a terrifying scheme. But at this time, he was already powerless to reverse the situation. The situation was similar to the last time he led his army to slaughter Ouyang Wushuang's army. Unfortunately, this time he was the one being slaughtered. Ouyang Wushuang, I'll be waiting for you in the last 2 rounds. The crown prince's position is mine. Ouyang Wudao roared as he was grabbed by the blood-red dragon claw. His body exploded, turned into a ray of light, and disappeared. Along with Ouyang Wudao's death, Ouyang Wudao's army was also completely annihilated. Go and kill Ouyang Wuji! Ouyang Wushuang shouted, and the army chased after Ouyang Wuji's army. Ouyang Wuji led his army and fled in a sorry state. Unfortunately, they were exhausted and could not escape in the end. Lu Ming and the rest caught up to them and annihilated them. In the end, Ouyang Wushuang's army was left with only 3,000 people. However, they had won and annihilated the other two sides. Without a doubt, the winner of this battle was Ouyang Wushuang. How did this happen? The faces of the paragons from the Purple Flame Villa turned pale. Although Ouyang Wushuang had won, their hearts had fallen to the bottom. They had lost the bet. From then on, they had to listen to Lu Ming's orders for the next 50 years. They had made a blood oath, and if they didn't obey, they would be surrounded by their inner demons in the future. It would be difficult for them to make any progress in their cultivation, and they might even go into qi deviation. You've lost. Do you understand what to do now? Lu Ming's gaze fell on the paragons of the Purple Flame Villa. The paragon from the Purple Flame Villa had an ugly look on his face. His expression changed, but he did not dare to break his oath. He lowered his proud head and saluted Lu Ming. They understood that they had been tricked by Lu Ming. It turned out that Lu Ming and Ouyang Wushuang had secretly trained another group of troops and used other battle formations. It was no wonder that Ouyang Wushuang had been following Lu Ming's orders. This was clearly a trap for them to jump into, but they just jumped in. 50 years will pass in the blink of an eye. I'll bear with it for now. After 50 years, I'll kill this Lu Ming to vent my anger. Xiao Muqing comforted himself in his heart. The other heaven's favorites of the Purple Flame Villa had similar thoughts. After that, they left the array world. As expected, the upper echelons of the Xinyuan Empire announced the results of the assessment. Ouyang Wushuang was first, Ouyang Wudao was second, and Ouyang Wuji was third. Chapter 1837, The Second Round. Chapter 1837. The second round. Ouyang Wushuang had annihilated the other two forces, so he naturally won the first place. Ouyang Wudao had the battle points from killing over 20,000 of Ouyang Wushuang's men, and the battle points from his battle with Ouyang Wuji. He was ranked second, and Ouyang Wuji was naturally ranked last. After the rankings were announced, it was announced that the second round would be held in 3 days. Bang! In Ouyang Wudao's mansion, he smacked his palm heavily, and a stone table was turned into ashes. This time, he had only gotten second place. His original goal was to get first place in all 3 rounds, and win the Crown Prince position, with a crushing advantage. Don't worry, First Prince. The second and third rounds will be based on battle prowess. Well, definitely help the First Prince obtain 2 victories in a row, and the position of Crown Prince will be yours. A genius of the Daliao Heaven sect said with a confident look. In the first round, they were not very good at leading an army and fighting. They could not display their advantage in combat strength. However, in the next 2 rounds, they would definitely take first place. It'll make Ouyang Wushuang pay for the next 2 rounds. Ouyang Wudao's eyes were cold. At the same time, Ouyang Wuji's angry roar could be heard from his mansion. Ouyang Wushuang, I will make you pay the price. Ouyang Wuji roared. In the first round he had gotten 3rd place. The situation was extremely disadvantageous to him. Unless he got first place in the next 2 rounds, he would have no hope if he did not get first place even once. 6th Prince, don't worry. The only sacred hall will definitely help you get first place. The Soul Divine Temple's chosen Yu Kuang spoke. However, Ouyang Wuji's face was gloomy, and he didn't say anything. It was not easy to get the first place since the First Prince had the help of the Daliao Heaven sect. However, Ouyang Wushuang's mansion was in a celebratory mood. Ouyang Wushuang had taken the first place in the first round, and occupied an advantageous position. As long as he won the first place in the next 2 rounds, the position of Crown Prince would belong to Ouyang Wushuang. As for the people from Ouyang Wushuang's mansion, they were naturally happy that they could rise to the top. As for Lu Ming, he entered the mountain and river diagram immediately after he returned. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! In the void of the mountain and river diagram, a figure was dancing. 6 vortexes were suspended in the void, erupting with terrible power, as if everything could escape into samsara. After a while, the 6 vortexes disappeared, and a figure emerged. Master! Ouyang Moli appeared in front of Lu Ming and bowed. Your cultivation has reached the peak of the Martial King realm. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. During this period of time, not only had Ouyang Moli consolidated his cultivation, But he had also advanced to the peak of the martial king realm. This speed was simply shocking, even faster than Lu Xiangxiang. Of course, this was because Ouyang Moli had obtained the heart of the world from the reincarnation emperor. That was why his cultivation speed was so terrifying. Towards the end, his speed would slowly slow down, but it would definitely not be slow. Of course, this was also due to Ouyang Moli's own hard work. Previously he was called trash and was bullied by others for many years. Now that he had awakened his bloodline, he naturally worked hard in cultivation. Alright, your cultivation has stabilized. Go out for a walk, Lu Ming said. With a thought, he brought Ouyang Moli out of the mountain and river diagram. However, he secretly left a mark in Ouyang Moli's body. Many thanks, master. Ouyang Moli bowed and left. His eyes flashed with a cold light. He was going to take revenge on those who had humiliated him in the past. If there is kindness, there will be kindness. Chapter 1838. Chapter 1838. Killing their way into the Blood Soul Sect. Chapter 1838. Chapter 1838. Killing their way into the Blood Soul Sect. Ancient Moon Holy Land and Ancient Sun Holy Land were located at the edge of Yuan Mountain, one of the 10 lands of the primordial realm. Ancient Moon Holy Land was close to the south, and the southernmost part was the Endless Sea. The ancient Yang Sacred Land was close to the north, and if one kept going up, they would reach the land of 10,000 demons, one of the 10 lands of the primordial realm. The land of Myriad demons was a holy land for demonic cultivators. It was filled with countless demonic cultivators, and there were even ancient demon clans. Its overall strength was even stronger than the Yuan Mountain. After flying for half a day, a faint demonic qi began to appear in the world. This place was already at the border between the Yuan Mountain and the land of Myriad devils. At this moment the worship stopped. Many people heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, they didn't enter the land of Myriad demons. There were countless demonic cultivators in the land of infinite demons, and there were even ancient demons. They were very powerful. If they went in, they would be in great danger. If they met those ancient demons, they would be killed immediately. There's a sect up ahead called the Blood Soul Sect. Their cultivation methods are brutal, and they secretly use the blood and souls of ordinary people to cultivate. Countless ordinary people have died at their hands. However, this sect isn't very strong. The strongest are the absolute saints in the Great Perfection realm. There are also some experts in the Initial Perfection realm. Previously, we had Emperor-ranked experts who secretly infiltrated this sect and left a mark on 12 of them. Your mission is to obtain these marks, regardless of the method you use. An old man explained. With a wave of his hand, crystal balls appeared in the air. Then these crystal balls flew towards everyone, one for each person. Take this crystal ball. As long as you're within 1,000 meters, you'll be able to sense the existence of the mark. Moreover, as long as you kill the person with the mark, the crystal ball will automatically absorb the mark. Remember, only the person who kills the person can obtain the mark. Whoever kills the person will obtain it. In the end, whoever obtains the most marks will win. The old man continued to explain. A total of 12 marks. Everyone's heart moved. There were a total of 12 of them. Each of them was extremely precious and could decide the outcome of the battle. Now you can set off, no matter what method you use. The old man ordered again. The strongest is only in the absolute saint realm. Let's kill our way in. Let's go. A ferocious look flashed in Ouyang Wudao's eyes. He flew into the Blood Soul Sect's gate first, followed by the elites of the Daluo Heaven sect. Who is it? Ouyang Wudao and the others charged over, and were naturally discovered. Someone immediately shouted, "The person who killed you kill, die." Ouyang Wudao shouted and punched out. The people in front of him were killed instantly. Ouyang Wudao and the elites of the Daluo Heaven sect rushed into the Blood Soul Sect like a sharp knife. They directly charged in. Ouyang Wushuang frowned. At first, they wanted to sneak in secretly and use the crystal ball to sense the imprints. Then, they would secretly snatch the imprints. However, After Ouyang Wudao's actions, it was no longer possible to sneak in secretly. "Well, charge in from the other side," Lu Ming said. Then they headed to the right and charged out from the other side of the Blood Soul sect. Ouyang Wuji led his men and charged from the left. Now, he had no idea who had the mark on them, so he could only try his luck. Mount Shuahan had more than a dozen mountains. It covered a wide area and had tens of thousands of disciples. But at this moment, the entire Blood Soul sect was in an uproar. Someone was attacking the Blood Soul sect. Buzz! And in BSB whoosh, figures rose into the air from the dozen mountains of the Blood Soul sect and flew in all directions. "There are enemies here." Someone discovered Lu Ming and the others. Instantly, a large number of figures rushed toward them, and all kinds of terrifying attacks flooded toward them. However, there were no absolute saints among them. The most powerful ones were only great saints. How could they be a match for Lu Ming and the others? Lu Ming and the rest rushed past, and a large number of corpses fell to the ground. In an instant, they had killed more than 100 people. They didn't stop as they charged into the depths of the Blood Soul sect. No one could stop them. At this moment, everyone noticed that their crystal balls were flashing with light. "There's an imprint within 1,000 meters. Everyone was overjoyed. "Over there." Someone pointed ahead. Not far away, there was a group of people. One of them was a burly man with a faintly discernible mark on his body. This mark would only appear when he sensed the crystal ball. Normally it couldn't be seen. "Kill them," the burly man roared. A group of people charged toward Lu Ming and the others. Many of them were in the Great Saint realm, and the burly man was in the Great Saint Perfection realm. Light spots appeared on Lu Ming's body. More than 100 holy weapons flew out and turned into a bright light, attacking the other party. The holy weapon killed the experts of the Blood Soul sect wherever it passed. "How can he be so strong? Retreat!" The burly man turned pale with fright. He wanted to retreat, but Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared behind him. He swung his absolute saint weapon, and the burly man spat out a mouthful of blood. "Ninth Prince, I'll let you kill this person," Lu Ming said. Although it was the same for whoever obtained the imprint, if Ouyang Wuxia obtained it, his weight would undoubtedly be greater. In the eyes of the Divine Yuan Empire's elders, Ouyang Wuxia would have a better impression of him. Therefore, he would let Ouyang Wuxia kill those that he could kill. Boom! Ouyang Wuxia took a step forward and threw out a palm. The sky and earth were in chaos. The terrifying palm power broke through all the attacks and defenses of his opponent. The burly man's body was torn into pieces before he could even scream. Ouyang Wuxia's talent and combat strength were absolutely terrifying. Otherwise, he would not have been able to obtain the identity of Hunyuan sect's silver inheritor. As soon as the burly man died, a mark flew out and into Ouyang Wuxia's crystal ball. The first mark was a good start. Then, the group continued to charge toward the depths of the Blood Soul sect. The Blood Soul sect was in chaos, and the sounds of killing could be heard everywhere. When Lu Ming and the group rushed past a mountain peak, the crystal ball reacted again. "Another mark has appeared. It's that old man," someone shouted. He saw a thin old man with a mark on his body. The old man's expression changed drastically when he saw the group. His body plunged into the ground and disappeared. "Not good, he's trying to escape underground." Someone's expression changed. "Leave it to me." Lu Ming's body also rushed to the ground. The law of chaos had transformed into the law of earth. The ground was like water. Lu Ming rushed in and disappeared. Not long after, Lu Ming rushed out from the ground again. There was an additional mark in the crystal ball in his hand. After that, everyone continued on their way. They had no idea who had the marks on their bodies. These marks had been planted by a martial emperor powerhouse at will. It could be someone with a strong or weak cultivation base. Therefore, they could only find them by constantly searching. Chapter 1839. Chapter 1839. Fighting for the seal. Chapter 1839. Chapter 1839. Fighting for the seal. Not long after, they found another young man with a mark on his body. The moment this young man discovered Lu Ming and the rest, he did not fight at all. He turned and ran. This person's movement technique was very special. With a single move, he turned into a bloody shadow and flew in all directions. It was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Kill! Ouyang Wushuang, Long Chun, and the Heaven's favorites from the Purple Flame Villa shouted. Their terrifying attacks covered the area in front of them, and the blood shadows cast by the young man were all shattered. The young man turned pale with fright and fled frantically. However, how could his speed be compared to Lu Ming and the rest? He would be chased down very soon. Boom! Suddenly, a huge bloody handprint fell from the sky and rumbled toward the crowd. Absolute Saint, leave it to me. A supreme saint in the great circle of the Purple Flame Villa rushed into the sky. His hand was covered in flames, and it seemed like he was holding a huge meteorite. He smashed it toward the bloody handprint. With a violent boom, the meteorite and the bloody handprint collided and disappeared. In the sky, an old man in a blood-red robe appeared. He looked at the proud son of heaven of the Purple Flame Villa with a serious expression. A person in the great circle of the great saint realm could actually exchange blows with him. His combat strength was shocking. Who are you people? Why are you attacking my blood soul sect? The blood-robed elder said in a deep voice. You've committed too many evil deeds. Everyone has the right to punish you. Today is the day of your death. The other supreme talents from the Purple Flame Villa stepped forward and surrounded the Absolute Saint. They all had terrifying flames around them as they attacked the Absolute Saint. This Absolute Saint was at a complete disadvantage and was in danger. These geniuses of the Purple Flame Villa all had medium-grade heaven spiritual bodies. Once they reached the perfected Supreme Saint realm, they would have no problem fighting against an ordinary lower-tier Absolute Saint. Moreover, it was a joint effort of several people. As for Lu Ming, Ouyang Wushuang and the others, they charged toward the young man. Without a doubt, the young man was killed by Ouyang Wushuang, and they obtained 3 marks. The Absolute Saint was also killed by the Purple Flame Villa elites. Then they continued to search, but they seemed to have run out of luck. They crossed a few mountains and killed a few Absolute Saints along the way, but they didn't find the 4th mark. Brother Lu Ming, there's someone over there. Chirp chirp. Bubbles pointed at a small hill and said softly. Lu Ming looked over. The small hill looked very ordinary. There was nothing unusual about it. He could not sense any life aura thither. However, Bubbles controlled the space-time laws and could travel through space. It should not be wrong to sense someone. Boom. Lu Ming threw a punch, and a force of his fist was directed at the small hill. The small hill immediately exploded. In the midst of the smoke and dust, he saw an old man flying into the distance in a panic. An Absolute Saint. He has a mark on his body. Someone shouted. Don't let him get away. Lu Ming was the first to give chase. The rest of the people also chased after the elder. As he chased, all kinds of attacks poured towards the old man. Although the elder was an Absolute Saint, he was no match for so many people. He spat out blood and ran like crazy. Buzz. And MBSB whoosh. At this moment, there was a sound of something breaking through the air in front of them. Everyone looked over, and their expressions changed. The people in front of him were Ouyang Wuji, and the heaven's favorites he brought with him. This person has a mark on his body. Kill him. Ouyang Wuji also noticed the mark on the old man's body. He immediately roared and charged toward the old man. The old man's eyes were filled with despair. Not good. Ouyang Wuji and the others are going to fight with us for it. One of the Purple Flame Villa's heaven's favorites had an ugly expression on his face. Bubbles stopped them. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Leave it to me. Pow Pow flew out. With a wave of her little hands, ripples appeared in the space. Ouyang Wuji and the others were flying at high speed, but they suddenly stopped as if they had hit a wall. Damn it, spatial laws break for me. Ouyang Wuji roared as he unleashed terrifying attacks that blasted the space in front of him. However, this space also contained the law of time. Their attacks could only shake the space but could not break it. Meanwhile, Lu Ming, the 9th prince, and the others charged toward the elder at the Absolute Saint stage. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming pointed his finger out. A terrifying finger condensed and crushed towards the other party. And NBSB the elder's body exuded a pitch-black aura that converged into an evil ghost that pounced at the primal chaos tribulation finger. But the finger crushed the evil ghost and forced it to retreat. Chaotic heaven and earth. Ouyang Wushuang arrived and struck out with both palms. Everything became chaotic as the terrifying palm force blasted towards the old man. They did not show any mercy. The entire blood soul sect cultivated with the blood soul of ordinary people. Countless people had died at their hands. They were extremely vicious and deserved to be killed. Ouyang Wushuang's palm force almost tore his opponent's body apart. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was severely injured. What powerful combat strength! He has a superior grade heavenly spiritual body, and one of the King Path laws, the law of chaos. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Ouyang Wushuang's cultivation base was at the peak of the Great Saint Realm, but his combat strength was amazing. His spiritual body was a superior grade heaven spiritual body, and he also controlled the King Path law. He was indeed worthy of being the silver inheritor of the Hunyuan sect. None of them were simple. Damn it, hurry up and attack, hurry! On the other side, Ouyang Wushuang shouted. If the old man was killed by Ouyang Wushuang or Lu Ming, they would not have a share. I seal. A delicate shout rang out, and a terrifying chill filled the air, as if it was going to seal everything in ice. It was Qiuyu. At this moment, Qiuyu seemed to have turned into an ice goddess. She was wearing a white dress, and there was a curved blade in her hand that emitted a terrifying coldness. When the curved blade slashed out, even the space was frozen, turning into pieces of ice crystals that were about to break. Brother Lu Ming, all the best. I can't hold on any longer, Chirpy. Peoba cried out. It was too difficult for her to block so many experts by herself. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming pointed with his finger again. He used almost all his strength. The other party tried his best to resist, but as the finger force crushed over, the other party still spat out a large mouthful of blood. The bones in his body crackled, and it was unknown how many bones were broken. Then the attacks from Ouyang Wushuang, Long Chun, and the others arrived. Facing the attacks of so many heaven's favorites, the other party couldn't resist at all. With a scream, he was turned into ashes by the attacks. A mark flew out and entered Ouyang Wushuang's crystal ball. The fourth mark. Bubble retreat. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Then, Bubbles moved and flew back to Lu Ming's shoulder. Ouyang Wushuang, you're courting death. Ouyang Wuji roared as his eyes turned red. There were only 12 marks in total, and each of them was very precious. Now, he had to watch Ouyang Wushuang get one. He was furious. Let's go. Ouyang Wushuang shouted and led everyone away. Chapter 1840. The Key Mark. Chapter 1840. The key mark. This round's main objective was to find the imprints and obtain them. Since the imprints were already obtained by the other party, even if they killed the other party, they would not be able to take them back. Hence, there was no need to fight Ouyang Wuji head-on. Ouyang Wushuang and Lu Ming. Ouyang Wuji's expression was extremely cold. The little girl was following Lu Ming and blocked them with the space law. Otherwise, Ouyang Wushuang might not have been able to obtain the mark. I just saw that Ouyang Wushuang already has 3 marks. Lu Ming also has 1. Yushu walked to Ouyang Wuji's side and said. This made Ouyang Wuji's expression even uglier. Ouyang Wushuang and the others had already obtained 4 marks. 12 marks took up 1/3 of the total, while they only had 2 marks. If they had obtained the previous one, they might have been able to fight for it. But now it was difficult. If he lost again in this round, he would have no fate with the position of Crown Prince. I wonder how many imprints Ouyang Wudao has obtained. Someone said, let's continue our search. Let's go. Ouyang Wuji suppressed his anger and led the group in another direction. Not long after, they really did run into a person with a mark. His cultivation was at the lower tier of the Absolute Saint Realm, but he was quickly severely injured by their combined forces. Don't kill him yet, just cripple his cultivation. Ouyang Wuji said before crippling his cultivation. Why not? Someone asked. Let's keep it first. We'll make a decision later based on the situation. Ouyang Wuji's eyes flashed coldly as he kept the man into his Grotto Heaven treasure. Although Grotto Heaven treasures were precious, geniuses like them who came from powerful forces naturally had no lack of them. After keeping it, they continued their search. As for Lu Ming and the rest, They were also looking for it. However, after obtaining the fourth mark, they did not encounter anyone with a mark after going around in a big circle. There were a total of 12 of them, and as time passed, they would surely become fewer and fewer. It would also become more and more difficult to encounter them. Don't tell me there's no more. Someone said. No, if all 12 marks were obtained, the clan elder would definitely remind us, and not let us continue searching like this. Ouyang Wushuang said. Then everyone continued their search. At this moment, the Blood Soul sect was in complete chaos. Many experts had been killed, and those with weaker cultivation were running or hiding. This made Lu Ming sigh. The Blood Soul sect's strength, if placed in the Azure continent, was stronger than any of the 13 top forces in the Azure continent. The Blood Soul sect had at least a dozen absolute saints. Such a powerful force had been destroyed because of a test from the Xinyuan Empire. This was how the world of martial Dao worked. The strong lived and the weak died. The strong could decide the life and death of the weak with a single word. Therefore, countless people cultivated with all their might, and went to dangerous places to take risks. They did everything they could to increase their strength. Only with great power could one control their own fate, and even the fate of others. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a violent boom came from the front, and terrifying beams of light shot into the sky. Someone was fighting. Let's go take a look. Ouyang Wushuang sent a message to everyone. Then, everyone concealed their aura and moved forward. They climbed up a huge mountain, and hid behind a huge rock as they looked forward. In front of them, a group of people were attacking a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's cultivation was terrifying. He had reached the Absolute Saint realm. This was the first time they'd encountered a late-stage Absolute Saint in the Blood Soul sect. The ones attacking him were the first prince, Ouyang Wudao, and the Heaven's favorites who helped him. A total of more than 10 Heaven's favorites surrounded the middle-aged man. Among them, Ouyang Wudao and a white-robed young man were the strongest. The two of them were the main attackers while the others supported them. Ouyang Wudao and the white-robed youth are both upper-class heavenly spiritual bodies. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Ouyang Wudao and the white-robed young man, Bai Mu, were both upper-class heavenly spiritual bodies. Their cultivation had reached the great saint perfection. Although the laws they controlled were not the King Path laws, they were still extremely powerful laws. Their combat strength was shocking. The two of them joined forces and fought against the middle-aged man. With the help of the other Heaven's favorites, the middle-aged man was no match for him. He was suppressed and his death was only a matter of time. There's a mark on that person's body. The eyes of Lu Ming and the group lit up. What should we do? Ouyang Wudao and the people he brought with him are too powerful. Someone asked. Just Ouyang Wudao and Bai Mu alone had astonishing combat strength. Apart from Ouyang Wushuang, there was probably no one who could defeat them. Although Lu Ming was strong, in the eyes of the others, he might not be a match for either Ouyang Wudao or Bai Mu. The other geniuses of the Daliao Heaven sect were almost all medium-grade heavenly spiritual bodies, and their cultivation had reached the great saint perfection. This force was too strong. They were no match for it if they tried to snatch it by force. However, he was unwilling to give up just like that. They currently had 4 marks. If they could obtain 1 more, or 5 marks, they would have a much higher chance of winning. If they won first place again in this round, there would be no need to compete in the 3rd round. Ouyang Wushuang would directly become the crown prince. Therefore, this mark was very important. Who are you people? Why are you attacking my Blood Soul sect? The middle-aged man roared. He was already injured, and his death was only a matter of time. He was shocked and furious. He didn't understand where these people came from. These people were all young, but their cultivation was amazing. Almost all of them were at the peak of the Great Saint realm, or the Great Saint Perfection realm. Their combat strength was also amazing. Almost all of them could fight above their level. Where did they come from? When did they offend such a group of people? You don't have the right to know who we are. Kill. Ouyang Wudao was incomparably tyrannical, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. His violent attacks were like a violent storm as he attacked his opponent. The attacks of the others also poured toward the middle-aged man. Although the middle-aged man tried his best to block, Some of the attacks still landed on his body. His body almost exploded, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Not good, the other party is about to be killed. The faces of the paragons from the Purple Flame Villa changed. You guys stay here and don't move. Leave this person to me. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Ouyang Wushuang and the others. Then he sank into the ground and completely concealed his aura. He headed toward the battlefield silently. In a short while, Lu Ming appeared below the battlefield. At this moment, the middle-aged man's injuries were even more serious, and he could be killed at any moment. Bubble, do it! Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Buzz! Bubbles circulated the space-time law, and Lu Ming's body distorted like waves of water. He disappeared like an illusion. In the next moment, Lu Ming's figure appeared directly beside the middle-aged man. Who is it? Ouyang Wudao shouted when he noticed Lu Ming's sudden appearance. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand, and a holy weapon flew towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was shocked, and was about to block it when he heard Lu Ming mumble explode. Chapter 1841. Chapter 1841, Snatching Food from the Chapter 1841. Chapter 1841, Snatching Food from the Tiger's Mouth. It was an absolute saint weapon, and it exploded. The terrifying power swept through the middle-aged man. Chaos Finger. At the same time, Lu Ming pointed with his finger. He used all his strength in this one finger. The middle-aged man was already heavily injured, and on the verge of death. Now that he was suddenly attacked by the self-destruction of an absolute saint weapon, and the full-powered attack of the chaotic finger, he was unable to withstand it at all. His body immediately exploded and his soul was scattered. After Lu Ming attacked with the Chaos Finger of Calamity, Bubbles immediately took action and cast the space-time law. Lu Ming's figure turned illusory again. Damn it, kill! Ouyang Wudao howled madly. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he launched a terrifying attack at Lu Ming. Lu Ming actually dared to snatch his mark. He was courting death. However, when the attack landed, Lu Ming's figure dissipated like a phantom. In the next moment, his figure had already left the battlefield. And in his crystal ball, there was another mark. Everything had happened too quickly. Lu Ming asked Bubbles for help and suddenly appeared on the battlefield. With lightning speed, he self-destructed an absolute saint weapon and attacked with the Chaos Finger of Calamity. Then he retreated with Bubbles' help. All of this happened in an instant. However, in that instant, Lu Ming had already killed the middle-aged man and seized the mark. Brat, you're looking for death! Ouyang Wudao bellowed in rage. He stepped into the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth and snatch his mark. He was simply courting death. The rest of them followed Ouyang Wudao and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. With a spatial fluctuation, Lu Ming's figure reappeared in the distance, near Ouyang Wushuang and the others. Remember the seal, let's go, Lu Ming said. Everyone rose into the air and flew into the distance. Ouyang Wushuang, get back here! Ouyang Wudao shouted in a commanding tone. It was as if he told Ouyang Wushuang to roll back, and he would roll back. Laughable. Ouyang Wushuang's disdainful voice was heard as he flew forward with all his might. All 12 marks have appeared. The test is over. Come out now. At that moment, a voice rang in everyone's ears. It was the voice of the Divine Origin Empire's elder. All 12 marks have appeared. Damn it! Ouyang Wudao stopped and roared. His eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. He only had 4 imprints on him, which was a third of the total. This number was still very dangerous. If either Ouyang Wushuang or Ouyang Wuji had 5 marks, he would have lost. If each of them had 4 marks, it would only be a draw. He didn't want a tie, but first. This made him hate Lu Ming and Ouyang Wushuang even more. If he had obtained the mark just now, he would have 5 marks, and would have the upper hand. Now he could only hope that he would have 4 marks for each of the 12. It's over, let's go out. Ouyang Wushuang and the others flew out. Haha, we have 5 marks. We have a high chance of winning. A heaven's favorite from the Purple Flame Villa laughed. The chances of winning with 5 marks were indeed very high. As long as Ouyang Wuji obtained 3 marks, Ouyang Wudao would only have 4 marks, and they would win. The position of Crown Prince would be Ouyang Wushuang's. They flew out at top speed. Ouyang Wudao led his men, and flew out with a gloomy face. However, on the way, he met Ouyang Wuji, and the heaven's favorites from the Soul Divine Temple. At this moment, Ouyang Wuji's expression was extremely ugly. He knew that he had lost. He had no chance at all. He had no fate with the position of Crown Prince. Ouyang Wuji, how many marks did you get? Ouyang Wudao looked at Ouyang Wuji nervously. He hoped that Ouyang Wuji had also obtained 4 marks. This way this round would be a draw. 3. Ouyang Wuji's words caused Ouyang Wudao's face to pale. Ouyang Wuji had obtained 3. Did that not mean that Ouyang Wushuang had obtained 5 and won first place? In this way, Ouyang Wushuang had won 2 rounds in a row. There was no need to compete in the last round. The position of Crown Prince would belong to Ouyang Wushuang. Damn it! The killing intent in Ouyang Wudao's eyes intensified. It was all Lu Ming's fault. If he had not made a move and snatched the last mark, he would have won. At that moment, he hated Lu Ming to the core. Ouyang Wudao, how about we join forces? Ouyang Wuji said, his eyes gleaming with a sharp light. How could it be so easy for Ouyang Wushuang to seize the position of Crown Prince? Join forces? What's the point of joining forces now? Ouyang Wushuang has won 2 rounds in a row. The victory is set. Ouyang Wudao said unwillingly. Not necessarily. Ouyang Wuji smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, an old man appeared. This person has a mark on his body, but one kept it and didn't kill him. I'll leave it to you now. Ouyang Wuji said. Ouyang Wudao's eyes lit up, and emitted a bright radiance. He had never expected that Ouyang Wuji would actually leave one person alive. Since you're helping me like this, what's the request? Ouyang Wudao asked. I don't have any requests. One just don't want Ouyang Wushuang to become the Crown Prince. Ouyang Wuji said coldly. In any case, he had no hope of getting it. But Ouyang Wushuang could forget about getting it either. Whoosh! Ouyang Wudao stepped forward and struck out with his palm, killing the elder. Instantly, the number of imprints on his side increased to 5. Good haha! Ouyang Wudao was overjoyed. In this case, he and Ouyang Wushuang had tied for this round. Then, they would decide the winner in the 3rd round. If he were to get first place in the 3rd round, and Ouyang Wushuang was last, the Crown Prince position would be his. Then let's let Ouyang Wushuang get the last place in the 3rd round. Ouyang Wuji said coldly. Haha. 6th brother. I won't forget you if one take control of the Xinyuan Empire. Ouyang Wudao laughed. Then the group flew out. When they left the Blood Soul sect, they discovered that Ouyang Wushuang and the others had already arrived. Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji looked at Ouyang Wushuang and Lu Ming with cold killing intent. Alright, everyone's here. Take out your crystal balls, and let's see what you've got. A clan elder said. Lu Ming and the rest nodded, and took out their crystal balls. Ouyang Wushuang had 3 marks and Lu Ming had 2, so there were 5 marks in total. 5 not bad. The clan elder nodded, and looked at Ouyang Wudao and the others. Ouyang Wudao and the others also took out their crystal balls. It's also 5. The faces of Ouyang Wushuang and the others changed. He did not expect Ouyang Wudao to obtain 5 of them. In that case, Ouyang Wuji would have obtained 2. Damn it! How could Ouyang Wuji be so useless? He only got 2. Someone in the Purple Flame Villa muttered. If Ouyang Wuji had obtained 3, they would have won. However, they did not expect Ouyang Wuji to be so useless as to only obtain 2 marks. Chapter 1842. Great Sage Great Mastery. Chapter 1842. Great Sage Great Mastery. What did you just say? Ouyang Wuji heard his words as well. He looked coldly at the heaven's favorite from the Purple Flame Villa. But why would he be afraid of him? He looked at Ouyang Wuji with a cold smile. This made Ouyang Wuji's expression even uglier. You guys can be smug. In the 3rd round, it'll make you guys die miserably. Ouyang Wuji was filled with hatred. Alright, Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wushuang have tied for this round of assessment. You can go back and rest. The 3rd round of assessment will begin in 7 days. A clan elder announced before summoning a warship. Everyone boarded the warship and returned to the Xinyuan imperial capital half a day later. After returning to Ouyang Wushuang's mansion, Ouyang Wushuang held a banquet as a reward. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone went back. Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the mountain and river diagram. My cultivation is about to break through. Lu Ming revealed a smile. It had been a long time since he had broken through to the Supreme Saint realm. Now his cultivation was finally going to break through again. Lu Ming immediately took out a large number of raw gemstones and placed them at the side. Then, he sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. 3 days later, Lu Ming's aura rose sharply. A strong suction force came from his body. The raw gemstones exploded one after another, turning into rolling raw energy that rushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's aura finally calmed down after half a day. Great sage, great mastery, Lu Ming smiled. His cultivation had broken through to the great sage upper tier, and his combat strength had improved again. He was more confident about the 3rd round. Following that, Lu Ming continued to cultivate and consolidate his cultivation. In the blink of an eye, the 3rd round of the assessment had arrived. This time, they met up in an empty space outside the Divine Origin Imperial capital. There was a huge mountain in front of them. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and pierced through the clouds. At the peak of the mountain, there was a huge flag fluttering in the wind. Ouyang Wudao, Ouyang Wushuang, Ouyang Wuji, and the others stopped 1,000 miles away from the mountain. The 3rd round of the examination is very simple. It's to snatch the military flag. Whoever can snatch that flag will be first. In the process, any means can be used. An elder announced. Everyone's eyes flickered. Any method could be used. In other words, this round didn't restrict killing. A cold killing intent flashed in Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji's eyes as they swept their gazes over Lu Ming, Ouyang Wushuang, and the rest. However, the journey from here to the peak of the mountain has been filled with many formations, so it won't be smooth sailing. Alright, now, you will stand in 3 positions, the clan elder announced. In an instant, their figures flickered, and the 3 parties each stood in 3 different positions. Lady Qiuyue, I'll leave Lu Ming to you later. It's best if you kill him. At this moment, Ouyang Wuji sent a message to Qiuyu. I'm here to help you win the crown prince's position, not to help you kill people. Qiuyu said coldly. Lu Ming has been going against us time and time again. Otherwise, one wouldn't have ended up like this. Since you're here to help me, listen to me this once. That Lu Ming must die. Ouyang Wuji said coldly. Qiuyu frowned. Junior sister Qiuyue, the 6th prince is right. That Lu Ming has no respect for our Soul Divine Temple at all. Not only has he injured a few junior brothers, but he has also completely disrupted our plans. If we let him off, we won't be able to answer to our elders when we return. Yushu said from the side. That's right, junior sister Qiuyue. Your combat strength is the strongest among us. You're more than capable of killing Lu Ming. The rest of the people from the Divine Temple also chimed in. Alright, leave Lu Ming to me. Qiuyu pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. Ouyang Wuji and the others were overjoyed. Let's start. At this moment, the voice of the clan elder rang out. Let's go. Buzz. Buzz. As soon as the elder finished speaking, the 3 groups of people rushed out at the same time. With their cultivation, they could travel 1,000 miles in the blink of an eye. However, as soon as they rushed out, dense inscriptions appeared in the sky. Sword gleams formed and slashed toward Lu Ming and the rest. Each sword light was extremely terrifying and had the power of a supreme saint. There were a lot of them, hundreds of them. Lu Ming and the rest had no choice but to slow down. They launched attacks one after another, shattering the sword gleam. However, there were countless inscriptions in the air. There were also all sorts of attacks like vines, flames, and lightning that blasted towards them. This greatly reduced their speed. They joined forces to break through the attack and flew forward. Ouyang Wudao, Ouyang Wuji, and the others were also attacked by the formation, and their speed was greatly reduced. However, it could only slow them down. If they wanted to pose a threat to them, the power of these formations was not enough. The 3 groups of people were like 3 owls, flying toward the mountain at an extremely fast speed. Among them, Ouyang Wudao was the fastest. With the help of the paragons of the Daluo Heaven sect, Ouyang Wudao's overall strength was indeed stronger. Stop them! All of a sudden, Ouyang Wuji and his men changed their direction and charged toward Lu Ming and the others. All kinds of terrifying attacks poured down on them. Lu Ming and the group retaliated and destroyed the attacks one by one. However, as a result, their advance was blocked while Ouyang Wudao was getting closer and closer to the mountain. Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji have joined forces. Lu Ming's voice was heard. Obviously, Ouyang Wuji was here to stall Lu Ming and the rest, so that Ouyang Wudao could get first place. Ouyang, the two of us will charge out. Lu Ming sent a message to Ouyang Wushuang. Charge! Ouyang Wushuang shouted and struck out dozens of palm strikes. The terrifying palm force broke through the attacks and rushed out of the encirclement toward the mountain. Lu Ming threw a punch, and a vacuum tunnel appeared in the void, breaking all the attacks. So strong! Ouyang Wuji and the others' expressions changed drastically. Lu Ming seemed to have become stronger. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure moved and he rushed out. Meanwhile, Long Chun, Huang Ling, and the Purple Flame Villa's geniuses did not move. Instead, they fought against Ouyang Wuji's men. Stop them! Ouyang Wuji shouted. Whoosh! A beam of white light shot out. As the white light passed by, even the space was frozen. A terrifying cold current rushed towards Lu Ming. It was a white scimitar. Lu Ming activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique and threw a punch at the scimitar. The scimitar trembled and was sent flying. A white light flashed, and a figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. Qiu. Lu Ming's gaze darkened. I seal. Qiu waved her hand, and the scimitar danced in the air. It emitted an even more terrifying cold current and slashed at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw another punch, and the boundless energy hit the scimitar, sending it flying again. However, there was indeed a terrifying cold current that extended up Lu Ming's arm, causing a layer of frost to appear on it. And NBSB primal chaos laws began to revolve, and with a shake, the layer of frost was shaken off. Chapter 1843. Chapter 1843. Fighting Qiuyu. Chapter 1843. Chapter 1843. Fighting Qiuyu. Yin and Yang. Qiuyu shouted. At this moment, the cold qi in her body suddenly converged on one side of her body, while the other side of her body emitted a hot qi. At the same time, a fiery red scimitar flew out, and the terrifying heat wave burned and distorted the space. Buzz! Buzz! One of the two scimitars was emitting a cold air, while the other was emitting a hot air. They slashed toward Lu Ming at the same time. The cold and the hot collided with each other, producing a terrifying energy that blasted toward Lu Ming. This energy was very terrifying. It had the power to destroy, and even Lu Ming felt a sense of danger. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming pointed his finger and struck the energy. A crackling sound was heard, and the two scimitars were knocked back by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming felt his fingers go numb. Waves of destructive energy were about to annihilate him. If not for the fact that Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through to the Great Sage Mastery, he might not have been a match for them. A superior grade heavenly spiritual body and one of the King Path laws, the law of Yin and Yang. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Qiuyu was worthy of being chosen by the only divine temple. She had brought the only divine temple from the divine wilderness. Her talent and potential were shocking. Not only did she control the laws of the King Path, her spiritual body was also a high-tier heaven spiritual body. Her cultivation had already reached the great perfection of the Great Saint Realm. This level of combat strength was even stronger than Ouyang Wushuang, Ouyang Wudao, and the others. Ouyang Wushuang, Long Chun, and Huang Ling also had such talent, but their cultivation was not at the Great Saint perfection. Yin-Yang convergence, die. Qiuyu shouted. Two streams of air burst out from her body. One was hot and one was cold. One was yin and one was yang. They collided with each other and formed a terrifying destructive force. Qiuyu, I am Lu Ming. I'm your young master. You said that you'll serve me for the rest of my life. Have you forgotten? Lu Ming's shout was like thunder in spring, ringing in Qiuyu's ears. Qiuyu frowned and shouted. Shameless brat, are you trying to lie to me again? Can't you change to something new? Kill. The two scimitars spun rapidly like a storm and came for Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and the Tai Chi formation disc appeared. A Tai Chi yin-yang fish pattern was formed, and it suppressed Qiuyu. Boom! Boom! The Tai Chi pattern collided with the two scimitars, producing a dull boom. At the same time, Lu Ming's punches were like the wind, dispersing the terrifying destructive airflow. While Lu Ming and Qiuyu were clashing, Ouyang Wushuang had also encountered a strong enemy. Ouyang Wudao charged toward Ouyang Wushuang, and the two of them were locked in a fierce battle. Ouyang Wushuang had mastered the King Path Law, and was more talented. However, Ouyang Wudao's cultivation was stronger. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. However, the talents of the Daluo Heaven sect rushed toward the mountain. Bubble, go and snatch that flag. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Leave it to me, chirp chirp. The bubble flew off from Lu Ming's shoulder. Its petite figure flickered, and it flew towards the mountain at top speed. The array was almost useless against the bubble. After a while, Bubbles had almost caught up with the talents of the Daluo Heaven sect. How is that possible? Is that the law of time and space? Go stop her! The elites of the Daluo Heaven sect exclaimed. Then 2 or 3 of them rushed toward the bubble, and attacked it with all kinds of attacks. Chirping in a flash, Pow Pow's figure rippled through the air. By the time the attacks landed, she had already disappeared. In the next moment, she had passed by the few of them, and was charging towards the mountain. Not good. The space-time laws are too strange. I can't attack her at all. Someone shouted anxiously. All of you attack. Use the laws to block the void and stop her. Bai Mu shouted, and suddenly changed his direction. A terrifying power of law bloomed and covered the sky, locking the void with the power of law. The other paragons attacked at the same time. All sorts of nomological laws were like chains that locked down the void. Peopeo's figure flickered continuously. However, with the void being sealed, she was unable to rush over. I'm switching sides. Bubbles' tender voice was heard. She moved her body and wanted to charge in another direction. However, there were too many of them. There were more than a dozen heaven's favorites, and most of them were great saints in the great perfection realm. With more than a dozen of them joining forces, the laws were confined in all directions, and they completely blocked Bubbles' escape route. Let's join hands and take her down. Bai Mu gave the order, and the power of law burst forth. More than a dozen people joined forces, in an attempt to take down Bubbles. Bubbles' figure flickered unsteadily, and the space around her flickered. It would not be easy for the other party to take her down. For a time, the two sides were in a stalemate. The battle between Lu Ming and Qiuyu was getting more and more intense. Qiuyu, have you forgotten about Li Ping and Lu Yuntian? Have you forgotten about the Lu family? Lu Ming shouted as he attacked, hoping to awaken Qiuyu's memory. Shut up, Qiuyu shouted as her brows furrowed. The laws of yin and yang represented the foundation of the world. Even among the laws of King Dao, it was extremely terrifying. The cold current collided with the scorching heat, producing a terrifying energy that surged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw 3 consecutive punches and blocked Qiuyu's attack. Qiuyu, have you forgotten about the mystical sword sect? Have you forgotten about the Burning Sun Empire? Qiuyu, have you forgotten about Yuehuan Mountain and Emerald Lake? Lu Ming kept shouting, telling Qiuyu some of the things that she was most familiar with and experienced the most. Qiuyu's eyes kept changing, as if she was trying to grasp something, but he couldn't catch it. Nonsense. I'll kill you. Die. Qiuyu shouted, and 2 curved daggers slashed at Lu Ming. If you want to kill me, then I'll let you kill me. At this moment, Lu Ming put away the Tai Chi formation disc and the chaos laws. He let the 2 curved daggers slash at him. The 2 scimitars were about to hit Lu Ming, but he did not move. He looked at Qiuyu with a gentle gaze, just like how he did in the past. At this moment, Qiuyu's heart trembled. She subconsciously retracted her force. However, the speed of the 2 curved daggers was too fast. Although she had retracted most of her force, they did not stop and slash Lu Ming's shoulder. Blood gushed out. The 2 scimitars sank deep into Lu Ming's shoulders and went straight through his bones. Blood stained Lu Ming's long robe. Qiuyu was stunned. She looked at Lu Ming in a daze and said, "You, why didn't you dodge? Why should one hide?" You and I have been together for more than 10 years. If you want to kill me, then one will let you kill me. One only hope that you can remember. Lu Ming said gently. Is everything you've said true? Xiao Yu's eyes were filled with confusion. Of course it's true. Lu Ming, your young master. We've been together for more than 10 years. The jade pendant you're wearing was a gift from my mother. Do you still remember? Lu Ming said gently. Buzz! Buzz! The two scimitars flew from Lu Ming's shoulders and disappeared into Xiao Yu's body. Xiao Yu's gaze fell on the jade pendant around her neck. This was the jade pendant that she had always worn on her body. Chapter 1844. The One and Only Temple. Chapter 1844. The One and Only Temple. Lu Ming, young master, the Lu family madam. Why can't I remember anything? Why? Xiao Yu mumbled to herself. The confusion in her eyes grew stronger and stronger. Finally, her face revealed a pained expression. Why? I'm going to ask my master. I'm going to ask my master. Xiao Yu suddenly shouted and flew up into the sky. She broke through the layers of formations and left the place in a flash. Junior sister, you should die. Yi Shu of the Soul Divine Temple shouted angrily. Xiao Yu, I will definitely find out what happened to you. Lu Ming's gaze was very cold. The wound on his shoulder was squirming rapidly and healing rapidly. Xiao Yu had absorbed most of the energy earlier, so his injuries were not serious. With the strength of Lu Ming's spirit body, he had basically recovered in a few breaths. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the bubbles. He then took a step forward and dashed toward the bubbles like lightning. Runes appeared and attacks were launched at Lu Ming, but they were all broken by him. Get lost. 11. Lu Ming approached him and activated the chaotic finger of tribulation. He pointed a huge finger at the Daluo Heaven Sect's paragon with an amazing momentum. Several talents of the Daluo Heaven Sect joined forces to resist, but they were still not able to resist and were blown away by Lu Ming. With that, Arichi encirclement was broken, and with a flash, Pao Pao charged out of the encirclement. Bubble, go and get the flag. Leave these people to me, Lu Ming said. All right. With a flash, Pao Pao charged towards the peak of the mountain. Stop him. Bai Mu shouted. Your opponent is me. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of them. He activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique, and illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared one after another, suppressing the group of Daluo Heaven Sect's talents. Boom! Boom! Each of Lu Ming's attacks weighed hundreds of millions of caddies, and had the power to suppress the heavens. The paragons of the Daluo Heaven Sect were sent flying one by one, blood spilling from their mouths. Kill! Bai Mu charged towards Lu Ming with shocking power. Bai Mu's spiritual body was a superior grade heavenly spiritual body, and his combat power was far above other heavens favorites of the same level. For example, Wan Jingyang, Mo Lang, and the Golden Crow Second Prince. They would probably be easily crushed by Bai Mu. Before Lu Ming's breakthrough in cultivation, he might not have been able to defeat Bai Mu. However, a few days ago, Lu Ming had a breakthrough in his cultivation, and his combat strength had increased greatly. After exchanging a few blows with Bai Mu's body trembled, and he could not help but retreat 7 to 8 steps. The Son of Chaos is indeed astonishingly strong. Bai Mu's eyes were filled with shock. Again, Lu Ming's fists kept punching out, and pieces of illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared, suppressing the talents of the Daluo Heaven Sect and blocking their way. Meanwhile, in a flash, Peo's figure was about to fly up to the peak of the mountain. No, Ouyang Wudao bellowed. His eyes were bloodshot, unable to accept this fact. Ouyang Wuji felt the same way. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He never thought that he and Ouyang Wudao couldn't stop Ouyang Wushuang even when they joined forces. They were extremely unwilling, but they could not stop it. They could only watch as the bubble approached the flag quickly. Then Bubbles grabbed the flag with both hands and pulled it out. Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji's hearts sank as well. All right, Long Chun, Huang Ling, and the geniuses of the Purple Flame Villa were ecstatic. With the flag in hand, this round of competition was over. The crowd retreated and stopped the battle. Ouyang Wudao's gaze was extremely gloomy as he looked at Lu Ming and Bubbles. In the second and third round of the assessment, he had completely lost to Lu Ming and Pao Pao. If it were not for them, Ouyang Wushuang would not have been his match. He still did not know that the first round was actually Lu Ming's idea. Otherwise, he would really be so angry that he would vomit blood. Buzz! Buzz! A few elders of the Xinyuan Empire appeared in the sky. The array in the area was hidden. The test is over. Combining the results of the 3 rounds, Ouyang Wushuang is the champion. He will be promoted to the Crown Prince in 3 days. An elder announced. Ouyang Wudao and Ouyang Wuji clenched their fists tightly and were filled with hatred. From now on, they were going to be trampled under Ouyang Wushuang's feet. Then, everyone returned to their respective mansions. Ouyang Wushuang's mansion was naturally in a celebratory mood, and a banquet was held for 3 days. 3 days later, the Xinyuan Empire held the Crown Prince's promotion ceremony. The Purple Flame Villa and the only divine temple sent people to congratulate them, but the Daoyuo Heaven sect did not. After the ceremony, Ouyang Wushuang was officially crowned as the Crown Prince. Lu Ming and the rest had achieved their initial goal. However, Lu Ming had another goal now. He had to figure out what exactly had happened to Qiuyu. How could he help Qiuyu recover? Therefore, on the 7th day after Ouyang Wushuang became the Crown Prince, Lu Ming and Ouyang Wushuang went to the only sacred hall together. The only holy temple was an ancient palace. It was suspended in the sky and was surrounded by clouds. It was like a fairyland. There was a flight of stairs that extended down from the only holy temple, and there were at least tens of thousands of steps. Lu Ming and Ouyang Wushuang landed on the steps and stepped up. Soon they had reached tens of thousands of steps. However, they were blocked by 2 people at the top of the steps. Who are you? This is the only sacred hall, and you are not allowed to barge in. The 2 of them were the guards. One of them opened his mouth, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. Ouyang Wushuang, and one have something to ask of Senior Ice Screen. Ouyang Wushuang cupped his fists. Bing Mu was Qiuyu's master. He was the one who had brought Qiuyu from the divine wilderness. Ouyang Wushuang? So it's Crown Prince Xinyuan. I've been disrespectful. The 2 guards' expressions changed. If it was an ordinary prince of the Xinyuan Empire, they could ignore him. However, the Crown Prince was different. He would rule the Xinyuan Empire in the future and become a hegemon. His status was completely different from that of an ordinary prince. Please wait a moment, Crown Prince. I'll pass the message now. One of the guards said. Wait, we can't let them in. At this moment a cold voice was heard. Then, a few figures walked out from the depths of the palace. Yushu. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. The person in the lead was Yushu. The others were all extraordinary geniuses. The 2 guards saluted Yushu and the others. It was obvious that Yushu's status in the only holy temple was not low. Oh, so it's Prince Wushuang. What are you doing here at our sole divine temple? Yushu asked with a faint smile on her face. Lu Ming and I are here to pay a visit to Senior Ice Screen. Ouyang Wushuang tried to be patient and repeated it. Meet the Ice Curtain Sect's Grand Supreme Elder? I advise you to go back. Do you think the Ice Curtain Sect's Grand Supreme Elder is someone you can meet whenever you want? Yushu said indifferently. You can go and pass on the message. Senior Ice Screen will decide whether to see or not. Lu Ming said. Pass on the message? Who do you think you are? I'm telling you, the Grand Supreme Elder of the Ice Curtain is in seclusion and won't see anyone. You can leave. Yushu's face darkened as she chided. If Senior Ice Screen is not free today, then one will come again tomorrow. If you are not free tomorrow, then I will come again the day after. One day Senior Ice Screen will be free. Lu Ming said. Chapter 1845. The Truth Behind Qiuyu's Memory Loss. Chapter 1845. The Truth Behind Qiuyu's Memory Loss. Lu Ming, why are you so thick-skinned? Don't think that I don't know what you're here for. You're trying to get close to junior sister Qiuyu. But let me tell you, she's already taken, so don't bother her anymore. Yushu berated. Lu Ming frowned. He had already been patient and tried to talk to the other party nicely. But the other party was deliberately making things difficult for him. Bang! Lu Ming suddenly took a step forward. His overwhelming aura pressed toward Yushu. Yushu's expression changed drastically, and she shouted, "What are you trying to do? How dare you try to break into my only sacred hall? Men, kill this person." During the Shenyuan Empire's assessment, he had suffered at Lu Ming's hands time and time again. He had long harbored hatred in his heart. Now that there was an opportunity, he naturally had to seize it and kill Lu Ming. As Yushu's voice rang out, a few powerful auras burst out from the only sacred hall. A few figures flew through the air and flew over. Each figure was surrounded by a river of laws. They were all emperor-to-be figures. "Stop!" At this moment, a voice rang in everyone's ears. It was filled with supreme authority. Yushu, the young men, and the emperor-to-be all changed their expressions. They stopped and bowed to the depths of the sacred hall, saying, "Ice Screen Grand Elder, bring Lu Ming in to see me." The voice rang out again. Yushu's expression changed slightly. It seemed that the Grand Elder of the Ice Curtain had found out about the situation. "Brat, you've gone far today." Yushu sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming coldly, and then left. "Young Master Lu Ming, please follow me. The Grand Supreme Elder of the Ice Curtain wants to see you." One of the guards said, "Ouyang, you can go back first. There's no need to wait for me." Lu Ming told Ouyang Wushuang, "No rush, I can wait here." Ouyang Wushuang smiled faintly. He was afraid that something would happen to Lu Ming after he entered. With him, the crown prince of the Shenyuan Empire. Around, the other party would have some reservations. Lu Ming did not say much. He and the gatekeeper walked toward the depths of the only holy temple. The only sacred hall was surrounded by many halls, and they couldn't see the end of it. They bypassed many halls and came to a small hall. "This is the residence of the Ice Curtain Sect's Grand Supreme Elder. You may enter." After the guard finished speaking, he turned and left. Lu Ming pushed the door open and entered. Behind the door was a small courtyard. A figure stood there with his hands behind his back, and his back facing Lu Ming. Lu Ming closed the door and came behind the figure. He cupped his fists and said, "Junior Lu Ming greets Senior Ice Screen. MH." The figure nodded and turned around. It was a beautiful middle-aged woman. "I heard that you said that you were Chiu Yu's young master during the Shenyuan Empire's examination. Is that true?" The middle-aged lady spoke. At the same time, a terrifying aura filled the air and locked onto Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if he was being stared at by an extremely terrifying existence. It was as if he would be turned into ashes with just a thought from the other party. Lu Ming's back was drenched in cold sweat. This was his Buddhist subconscious reaction. This beautiful middle-aged woman was definitely an extremely terrifying person. Her cultivation was unfathomable. Lu Ming felt that everything about him had been seen through. If he lied, he had no doubt that the other party would kill him immediately. "Senior, everything Junior has said is true. Junior comes from the Divine Wilderness Continent's Blazing Sun Empire's Lu family. Back then, when Senior took Chiu Yu away from the Divine Wilderness Continent, didn't you leave behind a sentence? In the Divine Wilderness, the only one in the world." Lu Ming replied in a humble manner. A hint of surprise flashed through Bing Imu's eyes, but his gaze became even colder. "LT, seems like you're right. So, you're here to take Chiu Yu away and make her your maid again? Senior, you've misunderstood. I've never treated Chiu Yu as a servant. I've grown up with Chiu Yu, and I've always treated Chiu Yu as my family." Lu Ming replied. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, the aura on Ice Screen's body was retracted, and a hint of warmth appeared on her face. Lu Ming secretly heaved a long sigh of relief. The other party was too terrifying. That wisp of steam engine had put Lu Ming under terrifying pressure. The ice curtain sized Lu Ming up curiously. "One really never expected that you would be able to walk out of the divine wilderness and achieve such an achievement." She already knew that Lu Ming was taking the examination in the Shenyuan Empire. How could she not know that it was related to her disciple Chiu Yu? Regarding this, she was really surprised. Lu Ming could actually walk out of the divine wilderness and come to the Yuan continent. Furthermore, he had such shocking achievements, suppressing many of the geniuses of the ancient Yang Holy Land. This was simply unbelievable. Back then, when she took Chiu Yu away, She left behind the 8 words in the divine wilderness, the only one in the world. She had just said it casually, but she did not expect that someone would really find her. Senior is too kind, Junior was just lucky. Lu Ming said humbly. Luck. Hee. I've never heard of anyone who can reach this stage by relying on luck. Alright, did you come to me this time to ask about Chiu Yu? Ice Screen said. That's right, Senior. Why did Chiu Yu completely forget about me? And when I mentioned what happened back then, she also completely forgot about it. What happened to Chiu Yu? Lu Ming asked a series of questions. Chiu Yu's memory was taken away. Ice Curtain sighed. What? His memories were taken away. Lu Ming was shocked. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Who is it? However, he could even take away memories. What kind of method was this? That's right. He's Luo Tsangxiong, the #1 genius of the Daluo Heaven sect. He has a king's body and controls the law of deprivation, one of the laws of the king path. He can deprive everything, even his memories. Ice Screen said. Why? Why would they do that? Lu Ming's gaze turned colder. Because Luo Tsangxiong likes Chiu Yu and has been pursuing her. But Chiu Yu already has someone in her heart, and that person is you. She always believes that you will come to her, so why would she care about Luo Kangqiang's pursuit? So in a fit of anger, Luo Tsangxiong took away all of Chiu Yu's memories from before. All of her memories regarding the divine wilderness continent were taken away, leaving only her memories of the Yuan continent. You wanted Chiu Yu to forget you and accept him. The ice curtain revealed the truth. Damn it. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly, and a cold killing intent emanated from him. He did not expect that things would turn out like this. Chiu Yu's memory was actually taken away by someone else, and the reason was that Chiu Yu already had someone in her heart. It was simply laughable, and simply deserving of death. Senior, as Chiu Yu's master, aren't you going to take revenge for her? Lu Ming looked straight at the ice screen, a faint trace of anger in his eyes. Of course one wants to take revenge for Chiu Yu. One once went to the Daluo Heaven sect in anger, but I quit in the end. Do you know why? That's because Luo Kangqiang's grandfather was a great sovereign. It was only a legend before, but I saw it with my own eyes. Luo Tsangxiong relied on his grandfather's status as a great sovereign to act lawlessly, but no one dared to touch him. The ice curtain spoke, her voice filled with helplessness. 1846. Chapter 1846. Chiu Yu 1's Master's Helplessness. Great Emperor. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Luo Kangqiang's grandfather was actually a great sovereign. In today's world, as long as the Heavenly Emperor didn't appear, the Great Emperor was at the peak. What kind of person was a Great Emperor? He controlled the Great Tao. His small world could give birth to living beings, and his cultivation had reached an unbelievable level. No matter how strong a true emperor was, they would probably be killed by a great emperor with a single slap. There were only a few emperors in the entire Yuan Mountain. Each one of them was a person who could shake the entire Yuan Mountain with a stomp of their feet. Legend had it that the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy was founded by a few great emperors. It was because of this that the entire region was stirred up. All the geniuses of the Yuan Mountain region were gathering towards the Heavenly Emperor City, wanting to join the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. One could see how terrifying a great emperor was. And Luo Kangqiang's grandfather was actually a great sovereign. No wonder Lawless dared to take away Chiu Yu's memory. Lu Ming also remembered that Ouyang Wushuang had told him that Chiu Yu's master had attacked the Daluo Heaven sect for some unknown reason, but had retreated silently in the end. It was obviously because of Chiu Yu. I also want to avenge Chiu Yu, but if one do, the entire sacred hall will be buried with her. Bingmu continued, his voice filled with helplessness. Luo Tsangqiong. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes, revealing a terrifying killing intent. Ice Curtain didn't dare to kill him, but he did. Chiu Yu, that girl is very attached to you. Before she lost her memory, she could not forget you. She hopes that you will come and find her, or that her cultivation will be successful, and she will head to the divine wilderness to meet you. I heard that during the Xinyuan Empire's assessment, Chiu Yu was very emotional when she saw you. Perhaps, if she is with you for a long time, she might really recover her memories. How about you spend more time with Qiuyu? Ice Screen said. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and thanked him. No need to thank me. One also hoped that Qiuyu can recover her memory. Her life will not be perfect if she loses a part of her memory. It will be difficult for her to reach the peak of her martial arts. Bing Mu sighed. The cultivation of martial arts was about having a clear mind. However, if a memory was missing in one's life, everyone would miss it and have a knot in their heart. How could one's mind be clear? It would be difficult to reach the peak in the end. Therefore, the Ice Curtain also hoped that Qiuyu could regain her memory. For this period of time, you will live in the One Divine Palace. I will arrange a place for you to stay and spend more time with Qiuyu. How about it? Ice Screen said. Thank you, Senior. One will do my best to help Qiuyu regain her memories. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Then, Ice Curtain asked someone to bring Lu Ming to a courtyard. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Ouyang Wushuang, telling him to return first and stay in the Soul Sanctuary for a period of time. Not long after, a figure stepped into the courtyard. Qiuyu. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. Obviously, the Ice Curtain had also told Qiuyu to stay in this courtyard, so that the two of them could spend more time together, hoping that Qiuyu would remember the past. Buzz! Qiuyu waved her hand, and a snow-white scimitar appeared, emitting a bone-chilling cold. You really know me? What you told me back then, was it true? Qiuyu said coldly. Of course it's true. Every word is true. Lu Ming said. One hope it's true. If I find out in the future that everything you said was a lie, and that you're only using this reason to get close to me, 111 definitely kill you. Qiuyu said coldly. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. It seemed that Qiuyu had thought that he was trying to get close to her on purpose. However, with Qiuyu's looks and talent, it was normal for some people to find all kinds of reasons to get close to her. Don't worry. If you find out that I'm lying to you, just kill me. Just like last time, one won't fight back. Lu Ming said with a smile. Qiuyu's cold aura finally dissipated, and the ice scimitar disappeared. She glanced at Lu Ming's shoulder and said apologetically, Are your injuries okay? It's okay. It doesn't matter if you cut me a few more times. Lu Ming said with a smile. You're so glib-tongued. I don't think you're a good person either. Qiuyu snorted. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. This girl's personality had changed a lot after she lost her memory. Qiuyu, let me tell you about our past. Lu Ming said. Yes, go ahead. Qiuyu nodded. The two of them sat down on the stone bench in the courtyard, and Lu Ming began to talk about the past in detail. Qiuyu frowned and seemed to be in deep thought. Every time he talked about something important, Qiuyu would have some reaction. Her eyes would flash with a look of contemplation and confusion. In the days that followed, Lu Ming stayed in the only holy temple and spent time with Qiuyu. They often talked about the past, from when Qiuyu was young to after she was taken away. They talked about everything. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. This kind of interaction had some effect. Qiuyu said that some images would flash in her mind, but it was difficult to capture. However, Lu Ming was already very happy. If this continued, Qiuyu would remember the past sooner or later. In a palace, Yushu was discussing some matters with a few young men with a gloomy face. I don't know what the Grand Supreme Elder of the Ice Curtain is thinking. He actually allowed Lu Ming and junior sister Qiuyu to live in the same courtyard and spend time with each other. How despicable. Yushu slammed the table and said hatefully. That kid Lu Ming said many times in the Shenyuan Empire that he knows junior sister Qiuyu and that he's her young master or something. Could it be true? A young man said. It's possible. Junior sister Qiuyu's heart used to belong to someone, so Luo Tsangqiong took away her memory. It's probably Lu Ming. That's why the Grand Supreme Elder of the Ice Screen let Lu Ming and Qiuyu live together, hoping that Qiuyu can regain her memory. The other young man speculated. No, we can't let this happen. I think it's better to let Luo Tsangqiong know about it. Yushu said, her eyes flashing with a cold light. Senior brother you're so smart. If Luo Tsangqiong knew about this, he would definitely kill Lu Ming. This plan of killing with a borrowed knife is really smart. A young man laughed. He. Yushu also laughed. Then they sent someone to pass the news to the Daluo Heaven sect. Time flew by and another 5 days passed. On this day, a group of people arrived at the only holy temple. The leader of the group was a young man with a cold expression. He was dressed in a purple robe, and his gaze was sharp like lightning. Behind the young man were a few elders, all of whom exuded powerful auras. When ordinary people arrived at the one and only sacred palace, they would have to land on the ground and climb up the stairs step by step to show respect to the one and only sacred palace. However, these people directly flew up, bypassing the stairs and flying towards the one and only sacred palace. Everyone, please wait. The 2 guards blocked the group's path. Get lost. I want to see Lu Ming. The young man in the lead shouted coldly in an overbearing manner. Everyone, this is the only sacred palace. Who are you? If you want to see anyone, one can pass the message on your behalf. One of the guards said. 1847. Chapter 1847. Chapter 1847. Bathing the king physique. The only temple guard saw that these people had extraordinary auras and did not dare to offend them. He asked carefully, Luo Pokong of the Daluo Heaven sect. The young man in the lead said indifferently, You're Luo Pokong? The guard's expression changed drastically. The Daluo Heaven sect had 2 kings in the younger generation. There were 2 heaven's favorites who had mastered the king path laws. One of them was Luo Tsangxiong, and the other was Luo Pokong. Luo Pokong's status in the Daluo Heaven sect was second only to Luo Tsangxiong. Everyone in the ancient Sun Holy Land knew him. Haha, brother Luo, welcome. Please forgive me for not welcoming you. At this time a laugh was heard. Yushu and a few young men stepped on the air and came over. Yushu, there's a kid called Lu Ming. Is he in your one and only holy temple? Luo Pokong asked. That's right, he's at the one and only sacred hall. If brother Luo needs him, one can take you there. Yushu said with a smile. Lead the way. Luo Pokong stepped forward. Please. Yushu led Luo Pokong and the others to Lu Ming's residence. At this moment, in the courtyard where Lu Ming lived, he was chatting with Qiuyu about the past. Suddenly, his expression changed and he looked out of the courtyard. A group of people stepped on the air and stopped above the courtyard, looking down at Lu Ming and Qiuyu. Luo Pokong. Qiuyu's eyes narrowed. Luo Pokong's eyes swept across Qiuyu and then landed on Lu Ming. Boy, you're Lu Ming? Not bad. Lu Ming responded. Very good. Do you know that Qiuyu is my brother Luo Kangqiang's woman? You dare to have any thoughts about her? I think you're tired of living. Saint power surged from Luo Pokong's body, forming a powerful aura that pressed toward Lu Ming. Nonsense. When did I become Luo Kangqiang's woman? You tell him that it's impossible between us. Qiuyu shouted. This made Luo Pokong squint his eyes, and a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Did you hear that? Qiuyu denied it herself, but that Luo Tsangxiong keeps sticking to her. Isn't it embarrassing? Don't you have any shame? Lu Ming sneered. Impudent. Who do you think you are? How dare you insult my elder brother? You must be tired of living. Luo Pokong shouted, and his cold killing intent bloomed. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Arrogant. Lil cripple you now. Luo Pokong's gaze was cold. His aura grew stronger and enveloped Lu Ming. He had heard of Lu Ming's combat strength. He could defeat a sovereign with a superior class celestial spiritual body in the Daluo Heaven sect. However, his combat strength was not something that a superior grade heavenly spiritual body could compare to. His own spiritual body was also a superior grade heaven spiritual body, and he had mastered the laws of the king path. His cultivation was at the great saint perfection. With such talent, he was almost invincible in a battle of the same level. Why would he care about Lu Ming? Luo Pokong, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Die. Qiuyu shouted coldly as her 2 curved blades flew out. The laws of yin and yang revolved around her body. Luo Pokong's eyes narrowed slightly. Qiuyu's talent was not inferior to his. He was not confident that he could fight her. Lu Ming, it seems like you can only hide behind a woman. Luo Pokong sneered and revealed a mocking expression. You don't need to use such a low-level goading method. However, I really don't need the help of others to deal with you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and appeared in the sky. Come up and fight. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Luo Pokong revealed a trace of joy. His body soared into the sky, and a long spear appeared in his hand. A terrifyingly sharp intent burst out from the long spear. Lu Ming is definitely not Luo Pokong's match. He's dead for sure in this battle. Yushu sneered. Luo Pokong's talent was almost at the top of the younger generation. His spirit body and laws were at the top. No one could defeat him in a battle of Arichi same level. Even if Lu Ming mastered the laws of chaos, his cultivation was so far behind. It was impossible for him to be Luo Pokong's match. Although Luo Tsangqiong didn't come, it would be the same if Luo Pokong came. Die, die. Luo Pokong shouted coldly. With a shake of his long spear, a terrifying spear radiance burst out toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body glowed, and more than 100 holy weapons appeared. He held an absolute holy weapon in his hand and slashed. Clang! The combat sword slashed at the spear's gleam, and a terrifying vibration was produced. The spear's gleam was shattered by the combat sword, but the combat sword in Lu Ming's hand also shook violently. What a powerful penetrating power! This is the penetrating law. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He felt that there was a penetrating power in the spear light. It was extremely terrifying, as if it could penetrate everything in the world. That was the law of penetration, a type of king path law. It was said to be able to penetrate everything in the world, and nothing could block it. It was extremely terrifying. Let's see how many shots you can take. Luo Pokong's long spear trembled and hundreds of spear lights emerged. They made a sharp whistling sound and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Go! With a single thought, more than 100 holy weapons shot out from around him. Each holy weapon was shrouded in the laws of chaos, and they bombarded the spear radiance. Bang! 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 The sound of the violent collision reverberated through the sky. Then Lu Ming's more than 100 saint weapons were all knocked back. However, the saint weapons were shrouded in the laws of chaos, which blocked the opponent's attack. Then, Lu Ming took a step forward and charged at Luo Pokong like lightning. Close combat was a better choice to fight with someone who controlled the law of penetration. Lu Ming's figure neared Luo Pokong. He activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art and punched out with both fists. Pieces of the prison-suppressing steel's illusionary shadow emerged and pressed toward Luo Pokong. Whoosh! 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 The long spear in Luo Pokong's hand continued to thrust out. The spear shadows, with a terrifying penetrating power, pierced the prison-suppressing steel's illusionary image. The prison-suppressing steel shadow was pierced through and exploded in the air. Lu Ming continued to swing his fist, and the illusionary image of the prison-suppressing steel kept appearing. The two of them clashed fiercely. The air was boiling, and the battle was extremely intense. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of moves. A destructive attack. Luo Pokong seemed to have lost his patience. He let out a long howl and circulated his saint energy to the extreme. He became one with his spear and turned into a terrifying spear radiance, stabbing toward Lu Ming. This was a terrifying sacred art that seemed to be able to pierce through everything. The illusionary shadow of the prison-suppressing steel that Lu Ming had blasted out exploded and was pierced through. Chaos Finger. Lu Ming also cast his remarkable power and pointed his finger. The light of chaos curled around his finger and pressed down on his opponent. Boom! And NBSB the primal chaos tribulation finger, and the spear light clashed, creating a massive storm that spread in all directions. In the end, the chaotic finger of tribulation crumbled, but the spear radiance of the other party also exploded, revealing Luo Pokong's figure. He retreated rapidly. Kill! Lu Ming shouted, and used the divine sword technique. 2 rays of sword light shot out from his eyes and rushed into Luo Pokong's body. Luo Pokong's body trembled slightly. Then, Lu Ming's holy weapons charged at Luo Pokong again. Luo Pokong endured the piercing pain in his soul. He waved his long spear and blocked all of Lu Ming's holy weapons. 1848, Chapter 1848. Chapter 1848. Soul Recovery Pill. Chapter 1848. Chapter 1848 Soul Recovery Pill. However, Lu Ming's holy weapon was sent flying back. Under Lu Ming's control, it continued to fly toward Luo Pokong. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the prison destructive divine art and punched continuously with both fists. Lu Ming launched a storm of attacks. For a moment, Luo Pokong was at a disadvantage. How is that possible? Yu Shu and the others were in disbelief. Lu Ming actually had the upper hand and was beginning to suppress Luo Pokong. How was this possible? Lu Ming's cultivation was clearly only at the Great Sage Accomplished realm, while Luo Pokong's cultivation was at the Great Sage Accomplished realm. With Luo Pokong's talent, it was simply unbelievable that he was at a disadvantage when his cultivation was 2 levels higher. Was the Son of God really that powerful? The battle here had long alarmed the only sacred hall. Many people in the sky were watching and were shocked. Luo Pokong let out a long howl. He was extremely furious, as he exerted all his strength to the extreme. Unfortunately, although his penetrating law was powerful, it seemed to have met its nemesis. It could not penetrate Lu Ming's chaos law. Seal! At this moment Lu Ming muttered. Then, dense runes emerged on Luo Pokong's long spear and covered his entire body. The sealed scroll of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. Just now, Lu Ming had applied the law of Array Dao on each of his holy weapons. As the holy weapons continued to collide with Luo Pokong, the seal scroll was quietly activated. At this time, it exploded and immediately sealed Luo Pokong. Lu Ming was shocked. He exerted all his strength and struggled with all his might. A terrifying penetrating power burst forth, hoping to break the seal. However, Lu Ming would not give him the chance. Kill, die! Lu Ming shouted as he continued to circulate the divine sword technique. At the same time, he cast the chaotic finger of tribulation and pointed. Lu Ming's current mastery of the chaos finger tribulation was close to 60%. Its power was shocking. With one finger, mountains and rivers were shattered. Boom! The finger of tribulation of primal chaos struck Luo Pokong's body, causing him to let out a blood-curdling screech. His body was sent flying, and he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. He had been severely injured. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He continued to step forward and charged towards Luo Pokong. How audacious! An old man who had followed Luo Pokong here shouted, and struck out a huge palm print at Lu Ming. Emperor-to-be! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He had no choice but to retreat with all his might to avoid the palm print. You're just a supreme saint. How dare you hurt the sovereign of the Daluo Heaven sect? Who gave you the guts? I'll cripple you first. At this moment another elder spoke coldly. He took a step forward, and a huge foot formed in the sky, stomping down on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if the space around him had frozen. He could not move his body at all. Even a bubble could not break the space and take him away. A martial supreme. The old man was a martial emperor. This was the Daluo Heaven sect. It was extremely overbearing. In the territory of the only temple, a martial emperor powerhouse wanted to attack Lu Ming directly. Just as the foot was about to land on Lu Ming, a wave of energy rippled out like a wave. However, the huge foot dissipated into nothingness under this wave of energy. A figure had appeared in the sky without anyone noticing. We pay our respects to the Grand Elder. The people from the only divine temple all bowed to this person. Master, Qiu Yu also bowed to this person. The person who had suddenly appeared was Qiu Yu's master Bing Mu. It's too much for a martial supreme like you to fight with the younger generation. Since Luo Pokong has been defeated, you can leave. The ice curtain said indifferently. Senior Ice Screen. Young Master Tsangqiong has personally asked for this kid. We must take him away today. The martial sovereign of the Daluo Heaven sect said. Get lost, you're courting death. Bing Mu suddenly shouted as a terrifying aura pressed down on the martial emperor. The martial emperor's expression changed drastically, and he was forced to retreat, almost spitting out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the ice curtain in fear. The ice curtain was definitely a terrifying existence. It had lived for countless years, and its cultivation was unfathomable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to go to the Daluo Heaven sect alone. If the great emperor didn't show up, Luo Zongxiong would have been killed. The man's expression changed. He turned around and said, "Young Master Pekong, let's go." Luo Pekong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He stared at Lu Ming coldly and said, "Lu Ming, my brother Luo Zongxiong is exploring an ancient ruin. When he returns, it will be the time of your death. No one can save you." After saying that, he looked at the ice screen. In other words, if Luo Zongxiong returned and wanted to lull Lu Ming, the ice curtain would not be able to protect him. Luo Kangqiang's grandfather was a great emperor. He was not Luo Kangqiang's brother, so he was not as tough as Luo Zongxiong. After saying that, Luo Pekong and the people of the Daluo Heaven sect stepped into the air and left. This kid is so lucky. He's still fine even after this. Yushu was filled with hatred. Suddenly, he felt someone looking at him. It was the gaze of the ice curtain. "I hope there won't be a next time." The ice curtain opened its mouth. Its voice was very calm, but it made Yushu's face turn pale in an instant, and cold sweat flowed down his face. Obviously, he had informed the Daluo Heaven sect about Lu Ming and Qiuyu, and the ice curtain had already known. His body trembled, and he didn't dare to say a word. Lu Ming's eyes swept coldly toward Yushu. It was not difficult to guess from the ice curtain's words that Yushu was the one who told them the secret. Otherwise, how would the people of Daluo Heaven sect know that Lu Ming was in the Soul Divine Temple? "Lu Ming, Qiuyu, come with me." The ice screen turned around and left. Lu Ming and Qiuyu followed closely behind and arrived at the palace where the ice screen was staying. "Lu Ming, you and Qiuyu should leave the ancient Sun Sacred Land and go to other places. It might help Qiuyu recover her memory." Ice Screen said. "Luo Zongxiong may not be able to kill me," said Lu Ming. He knew the meaning of the ice curtain. It was for him to avoid Luo Zongxiong. "Lu Ming, you may be powerful, but don't underestimate the heroes of the world. Luo Zongxiong is a terrifying person. His spirit, body, and laws are top-notch, and he has long reached the absolute saint realm. You're not his match now." Luo Zongxiong relies on the fact that his grandfather is a great emperor, and that his grandfather is extremely protective of his own people. That's why this person is lawless. Even if you are in the only sacred temple, or the Xinyuan Empire, you won't be safe. It's better to avoid him for the time being. Also, I know of an ancient prescription called the Soul Recovery Pill. It can help with the recovery of memories, but the ingredients required are too rare, especially the 3 main ingredients. I spent a lot of effort and only found one. Take a look. Ice Screen took out a jade tablet and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual senses. This was an ancient medicinal formula that recorded the refining method of the Soul Recovery Pill and the required materials. There were dozens of them. Lu Ming had never heard of 3 of the main materials. "I have collected all the supplementary ingredients for the Soul Recovery Pill. I have also collected one of the 3 main ingredients. They are all here. Take them. If you have the chance to collect the other 2 ingredients, you can make the Soul Recovery Pill. There is a high chance that Qiuyu's memory will be restored." Ice Screen took out another storage ring and passed it to Lu Ming. "Many thanks, Senior." Lu Ming took it and expressed his gratitude to the ice curtain. 1849. Chapter 1849. Chapter 1849. Savage Baron Ancient Realm. Chapter 1849. Chapter 1849. Savage Baron Ancient Realm. Lu Ming took the ice curtain's storage ring and pondered. The Dian Elixir Palace had countless prescriptions and sacred elixirs. There were also descriptions of various precious materials, and even their origins. Lu Ming thought that perhaps the Dian Elixir Palace had information on the other 2 materials to refine the Soul Recovery Pill. "Go, let's go out for a walk." Ice Curtain waved her hand. "Senior, this junior will take his leave." Lu Ming cupped his fists. He planned to return to the Dian Elixir Palace first and take a look. "Master, take care." Qiuyu also bowed to the ice screen and left the one and only divine temple with Lu Ming. Lu Ming returned to the Xinyuan Empire first. When Ouyang Wushuang, Long Chun, and Huang Ling saw Lu Ming, and Qiuyu walking together, they were surprised. Especially Huang Ling, who had a complicated look in her eyes. After that, Lu Ming, Long Chun, and Huang Ling bade farewell to Ouyang Wushuang. They brought Ouyang Moli along and stepped onto the teleportation formation, leaving the Xunyuan Empire. Not long after, they returned to ancient Moon Holy Land. Lu Ming, the Heavenly Emperor City's Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute, will be holding an official meeting in 2 months. Do you want to go? Huang Ling asked. One don't know. We'll see when the time comes. Qiuyu has lost her memory, so we'll see if one can find the materials to refine the soul recovery pill. If I'm not around, you can go to Heavenly Emperor City first. Lu Ming said. He didn't hide Qiuyu's matter from Long Chun and Feng Ling all right. Phoenix Spirit and Long Chun nodded and returned to Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect respectively. Lu Ming brought Qiuyu and Ouyang Moli back to the Dian Elixir Hall. Junior brother, you're back. Just as he returned to the Dian Elixir Palace, he met Xuanixin. Previously, Lu Ming had left Xuanixin in the Dian Elixir Palace to cultivate with Uncle Kong. Senior sister, are you used to living here? Lu Ming smiled. And it's all right. Xuanixin nodded and looked at Qiuyu and Ouyang Moli with a curious expression. Let me introduce you. Lu Ming introduced them to each other. What a powerful constitution. At this moment an old voice rang out. Uncle Kong held onto his walking stick and slowly walked out. His eyes, however, landed on Ouyang Moli's body and were filled with shock. Uncle Kong, he's my new disciple Ouyang Moli. Lu Ming introduced. Good, this is a great opportunity, good. Uncle Kong sighed. Now that Ouyang Moli's bloodline had been awakened, with Uncle Kong's cultivation, he could naturally see that Ouyang Moli was extraordinary. Uncle Kong, 111 leave Moli in the Great Yin Elixir Palace to cultivate in the future. He'll still need you to guide him. Lu Ming said. Alright, don't worry. These old bones of mine are idle anyway. One can still give them some pointers. Uncle Kong revealed a smile. Then Lu Ming brought Qiuyu and Ouyang Moli around the Dian Elixir Hall. The interior of the Dian Elixir Palace was huge. Other than the main hall, there were many smaller halls, secret chambers, alchemy rooms, and so on. After making a round, Lu Ming arranged rooms for Qiuyu and the rest, and came to a secret chamber. This secret chamber was filled with all kinds of pill recipes, formulas, and records of all kinds of precious sacred medicines and materials, collected by the Great Yin Elixir Palace. There were storage rings placed there, and each storage ring contained a large number of jade tokens. Lu Ming looked at them one by one. This amount of work was huge, because there were too many jade plates. After half a month, Lu Ming finally found the prescription for the soul recovery pill. There are records. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. As the 3 main ingredients of the soul recovery pill were very rare, there were relevant information about the 3 main ingredients recorded on the book. For example, the location and the possibility of having such ingredients. The 2 main materials that Lu Ming was lacking were the Grand Lunar Treasure Lotus and the Berserker Crystal. There are only 2 places that might have the Grand Astral Treasure Lotus. One is the Land of 10,000 Demons, and the other is the Land of 10,000 Demons. Lu Ming frowned. These 2 places weren't in Mount Yuan. They were too far away, and were the other 2 places in the 10 lands of the Yuan continent. The records on this are from countless years ago. Perhaps there's also a Grand Astral Treasure Lotus in Mount Yuan. Lu Ming pondered in his heart, and looked at the place where the Berserker Crystal might appear. There were 3 places where Berserker Crystals could appear. 2 of them were not in Mount Yuan, and only one was there. Ancient Savage Barren Realm? The Savage Barren Ancient Realm to the north of Mount Yuan? Lu Ming muttered. He decided to make a trip to the Savage Barren Ancient Realm. After that, Lu Ming bade farewell to Uncle Kong, and left Ouyang Moli and Xuanixin to cultivate here. He and Qiuyu went to the Phoenix Palace, and used the teleportation array there, to head to the Savage Barren Ancient region. However, the Savage Barren Ancient Realm was only a legendary place. It was impossible to directly teleport there. They were teleported to a sacred place in the north of Mount Yuan, then took a flying shuttle, and flew in the direction of the legendary Savage Barren Ancient Realm. After flying for more than half a month, They arrived at a desolate mountain range. The ancient savage barren realm is a place of ancient legends. Is it still there? Lu Ming had some doubts. However, since they were already here, they continued to search. After a few days, an ancient city appeared in front of them. The two of them landed outside the ancient city and saw two large words on the city gate. Barren City. What was the relationship between the barren city and the ancient savage barren realm? According to the legends, the ancient savage barren realm should be in this area. The two of them decided to settle down in Barren City first and explore. The two of them walked into the city. This ancient city seemed to have experienced a long time, and the aura of the vicissitudes of time was everywhere. There were many people in the city. At a glance, most of them were cultivators with strong auras. There were many Saint Realm martial artists. The two of them found a restaurant and went to the third floor. They ordered some food and wine to see if they could hear any news. What a beautiful woman! Not far from Lu Ming and the rest, there was a table of people. One of the young men was looking at Qiu Yu with a burning gaze. She's indeed very beautiful. One wonder which family she's from. However, it's his fortune to have caught the young master's eye in Barren City. Oh, call the girl over to have a drink with him. A thin middle-aged man laughed and flattered. All right. The young man nodded, his eyes burning with passion. He had never seen such a beautiful woman in the Barren City. He was tempted. The skinny middle-aged man chuckled and walked towards Lu Ming and Qiu Yu. He walked past Lu Ming and said to Qiu Yu, "Young lady, my young master invites you over for a drink. Come with me." There was a commanding tone in his voice. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked away. It was as if Qiu Yu would definitely follow him if he said so. However, Qiu Yu just sat there without moving. Chapter 1850. The HA Family. Chapter 1850. The HA Family. The skinny middle-aged man took a few steps and realized that Qiu Yu didn't follow him. He stopped and turned to look at Qiu Yu. His face darkened and he said coldly, "Didn't you hear what I just said?" Qiu Yu did not seem to see the skinny middle-aged man or hear his words. She was drinking by herself, and so was Lu Ming. They completely ignored the thin middle-aged man. The skinny middle-aged man's face turned even colder. He said, "You probably don't know my background. Let me tell you, I'm from the HA family. My young master is Hementi of the HA family, the #1 heaven's favorite in Barren City. Now come with me." When he mentioned the HA clan, the skinny middle-aged man had a smug look on his face, as if the HA clan was very powerful. "Get lost." However, the only reply he got was a cold voice from Qiu Yu. "How audacious!" the skinny middle-aged man shouted, bursting with cold killing intent. This woman actually dared to tell him to get lost after hearing his name. She was simply courting death. In Barren City, who didn't know about the HA family? The HA family was the most powerful force in Barren City. Hementi was the #1 genius in Barren City, and Hementi's father was the #1 master in Barren City. In Barren City, no one dared to disrespect the HA family. But this woman actually told him to get lost. "If you don't want to go over, I'll take you over." The skinny middle-aged man shouted coldly in an overbearing manner. He stepped forward and his skinny hand reached for Qiu Yu's neck. He wanted to drag Qiu Yu to Hemert. However, before his palm could reach Qiu Yu's neck, his entire body froze. Then his arm was covered in a layer of ice crystals, completely sealing his arm in ice. Furthermore, the ice crystals quickly spread from his arm to his entire body. The skinny middle-aged man revealed a look of fear and quickly retreated. With a miserable scream, his arm shattered like a piece of ice. "My arm!" The skinny middle-aged man let out a shrill scream. The restaurant suddenly fell silent. The other people who were eating and drinking looked at Qiu Yu in surprise. Where did such a young expert come from? Hago has the cultivation of an initial bright saint, but one of his arms has been crippled without him knowing. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. This time, Hamilton is going to flip out. He won't let them off. That's right. Hamilton is Barren City's #1 prodigy. He has a low-class heavenly spiritual body and has already reached the great circle of the bright saint stage. That woman is in trouble. It's a pity that she lost such a beautiful face. Many people were discussing, but they kept their voices low as if they were afraid that Hamilton would hear them. As expected, the young man Hamilton suddenly stood up. He was full of cold killing intent as he stepped toward Lu Ming and Xiao Yu. It seems that you've never heard of my name? Do you know the consequences of hurting my Ha family? Hamlet said coldly. What bullshit Ha family? It seems that you don't understand human language. One just told you to get lost, didn't you hear me? Lu Ming said calmly. He did not even look at Hamilton and poured himself and Xiao Yu a glass of wine. Upon hearing this, Hamilton's face darkened. At the same time, a terrifying killing intent burst forth from him. He glared at Lu Ming coldly. In the barren city, no one had ever dared to talk to him like this. Even the senior experts of the other forces had to give him face for the sake of his father. Now, a kid who came out of nowhere dared to insult the HA family and him. He wanted to make Lu Ming regret it and kneel on the ground to beg him. The other people in the restaurant also felt their hearts tremble. They all thought that the young man was finished. He actually dared to say such things about Hammerdy. His end would be extremely miserable. Brat, 111 make you wish you were dead. A sinister smile appeared on Hamilton's face. He took a step forward and moved like the wind, appearing beside Lu Ming. He swung his palm at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not seem to see it. He picked up a piece of meat with his chopsticks and put it into his mouth. When he saw that Hamilton's palm was about to hit his face, his chopsticks stabbed out like lightning. A shrill scream resounded through the restaurant. It was from Hammerdy. One of his palms had been pierced by Lu Ming's chopsticks. Then, Lu Ming opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of minced meat. It seemed to have turned into the most terrifying hidden weapon and hit Hamilton's face. The laws and holy power that covered his body were as fragile as tofu. The minced meat penetrated through Hammerdy's defense and created tiny bloody holes in his face. Hamlet retreated crazily, screeching miserably. His face was covered in blood, which made him look ferocious. The others in the restaurant gasped. They were shocked by Lu Ming's ability. Hamlet was Barren City's #1 genius. He had a low-tier heavenly spiritual body, and his cultivation had reached the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. In Barren City, among the younger generation, no one could withstand one move from him. However, he was completely helpless in front of Lu Ming, and was completely crushed by him. Moreover, he didn't look very old, and belonged to the younger generation. Could he be a heaven's favorite from outside Barren City? Die. I want you to die. Hamlet shouted crazily. Blowing. Lu Ming shouted coldly and slapped across the air. A palm condensed with holy power slapped Hammerdy's face across the air, sending him flying out of the restaurant. In the restaurant, the thin middle-aged man and Hamilton's other lackeys were pale and stunned. Get lost. If there's a next time, kill without mercy. Lu Ming glanced at the skinny middle-aged man and the rest as he spoke coldly. The skinny middle-aged man and the others felt as if they had been granted amnesty. They rushed out of the restaurant in a hurry and escaped. You two, you'd better run. The HA family won't let you off for treating Hammerdy like this. At this moment, a white-haired old man walked over and kindly reminded. Senior, how's the strength of this Ha family? Lu Ming cupped his fists and asked. There are 7 most powerful forces in Barren City, and the HA family is the most powerful one. It is said that Hammerdy's father has reached the Emperor-to-be realm, and is the most powerful master in Barren City. The old man said. Emperor-to-be realm? Lu Ming muttered, but his expression did not change. With Bubble's current strength and the profoundness of the space-time law, they might be able to escape from an Emperor-to-be. As long as there were no Emperor-level powerhouses, Lu Ming was not very worried. Senior, there's something one would like to ask you. Do you know of the ancient savage Barren realm? Lu Ming asked. He had come here to search for the savage Barren ancient realm, and this was the perfect time to ask. Ancient savage Barren realm? In Barren City, the savage Barren ancient land is also a legend. It is said that there are endless treasures in there. The major forces in Barren City have been looking for it, but after countless years, no one has found it. The old man explained. No one found it? Lu Ming looked disappointed. The major forces in Barren City had failed to find it after so many years. The hope of finding it was slim. You should leave quickly. Ha Clan is not far from here. I'm afraid the experts of Ha Clan will arrive soon. The old man reminded again. It's fine. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Chapter 1851. Chapter 1851. Killing Absolute Saints in Succession. Chapter 1851. Chapter 1851. Killing Absolute Saints in Succession. He didn't believe that the Ha family would send out an emperor-to-be expert so easily. If an emperor-to-be didn't come, he could easily escape. Seeing that Lu Ming and Qiuyu had no intention of leaving, the old man sighed and turned to leave. The other people in the restaurant were the same. They were afraid that they would be implicated when the experts of the Ha family arrived. After a while, only Lu Ming and Qiuyu were left in the restaurant. The two of them ate and drank. Boom, boom. It didn't take long before a terrifying aura came from outside. The entire restaurant was surrounded by the power of laws and completely blocked. Brat, get out here. Outside, Hammerdy's roar could be heard. 2 great saints in the Great Circle, 2 in the initial Absolute Saint realm, and 1 in the late Absolute Saint realm. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. The other party was quite generous. They had sent 3 Absolute Saints all at once. However, Lu Ming did not care about the initial Absolute Saint realm at all. Even if it was the Great Mastery Absolute Saint realm, it could only cause Lu Ming a little trouble. Qiuyu, how about going out to kill people? Lu Ming smiled faintly. All right. Qiuyu was even more direct. She stood up and stepped out. Lu Ming touched his nose. Qiuyu's personality seemed to have changed after she lost her memory. She was not so decisive in the past. When the two of them left the restaurant, they saw that in the sky, Hamilton had sealed off the area with 5 great experts. Little brat, very good, you haven't left. Hamilton looked at Lu Ming with a ferocious expression. He wished he could cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Then, he looked at Qiuyu and said coldly, bitch, 111 make you my slave and play with you every day. When I'm done, I'll give you to my subordinates. Ha ha ha. After saying that, Hammerdy laughed crazily. I said before that if there's a next time, I'll kill you without mercy. It seems like you're tired of living. Lu Ming's gaze darkened. You're so full of yourself, I'll cripple you first. A strong middle-aged man stepped out, his iron fist as heavy as a mountain, aiming for Lu Ming. This person had the cultivation of a great saint in the exceptional realm. With a single punch, the heavens and earth rumbled. The force of the punch was extremely terrifying, and was about to drown Lu Ming. In the distance, many onlookers were shaking their heads. They all thought that Lu Ming was in grave danger. Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Lu Ming said coldly, and took a step forward. Boom! The heavens and earth rumbled as a 9-headed dragon pounced out. The dragon's roar suppressed the heavens, and the dragon's claws swiped out, crushing the fist force of the opponent. The dragon's body did not stop as it stomped down with its claws. The brawny man screamed as he was torn apart by the 9 dragons, and died on the spot. This was the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Lu Ming had not used it for a long time. At his current realm, the power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was not enough. However, it was more than enough to deal with an ordinary great sage in the exceptional realm. The entire place was silent. He killed a great sage in the Great Circle with 1 move. What kind of strength was this? Furthermore, he was so young. This was too terrifying. Hammert was known as the #1 prodigy in Baron City. However, he was nothing compared to Lu Ming. Hamilton himself was stunned. He looked terrified. With Lu Ming's abilities, it was easy for him to kill him previously. But soon after, his heart was filled with even stronger killing intent and jealousy. In the past, he had dominated the Baron City's younger generation, and was very proud. He thought that there were not many geniuses in the world who could compare to him. Now, seeing how powerful Lu Ming was, he was deeply envious. Kill him, roared Hammert. Buzz! A figure rushed out from behind Hammerdy. A terrifying aura burst forth, pressing down on Lu Ming like a wild mountain. He was an absolute saint. An absolute saint was astonishingly powerful. They were far from being comparable to a supreme saint. They could kill a supreme saint with a flip of their hand. In the Azure State, an absolute saint was an overlord of a region. There were not many absolute saints in a top power. Light spots lit up on Lu Ming's body, and holy weapons appeared one after another. Kill, die! Lu Ming shouted. The divine sword technique burst out and rushed into the other party's body. The other party's body shook slightly. Lu Ming stepped into the void, holding an absolute holy weapon sword in his hand and slashed. A flash of sword light cut through the void, as if it was splitting the heaven and earth. The power was so strong that it made everyone's expression change. The absolute saint's expression changed drastically. He used all his power and shot out beams of divine light at Lu Ming. However, as the battle sword passed by, all the divine light was cut apart. The battle sword did not stop and continued to slash down. With a scream, half of the absolute saint's body was cut off by Lu Ming. The man was terrified and retreated frantically, trying to escape. Can you escape? Lu Ming attacked coldly. The combat sword in his hand shot out like lightning and pierced through the man's head, destroying his soul. The absolute saint had fallen. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and felt their scalps tingle. Lu Ming's combat strength was simply terrifying. Even an absolute saint had been killed so easily. Was he still human? Hammert was completely stunned. His eyes were wide open, and he looked at the scene in disbelief, as if he was dreaming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and continued to move forward. He activated the chaotic finger of tribulation and pointed. A giant finger of chaos tribulation pointed at another absolute saint. When Lu Ming was in the Great Sage lower tier, he could defeat an ordinary absolute saint lower tier. Now that he had broken through to the Great Sage upper tier, it was not too difficult to kill an absolute saint lower tier. Not good. Lu Ming had killed an absolute saint in a few moves. The absolute saint didn't dare to take it head-on. He retreated quickly, trying to avoid Lu Ming's attack. However, Qiuyu's body flashed out, and the laws of yin and yang exploded. Two curved blades flew out, forming a terrifying destructive power that enveloped the absolute saint. The absolute saint didn't even have time to scream before he was reduced to ashes by the power of destruction. Another one had died, and this time, it was Qiuyu. Go quickly, go. Run. The only absolute saint in the upper tier roared. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He used his saint power to run away. Come and go as you please, how can it be that easy? Lu Ming said coldly. He turned into a ray of light and chased after Hammerdy. With Hammerdy's personality, he would not give up just like that. There would be endless trouble later on, so he might as well kill him directly. Qiuyu followed closely behind. Many people were dumbfounded, as if they were in a dream. In the beginning, Hamilton had been aggressive. He had brought 3 absolute saints with him to kill Lu Ming and take Qiuyu. But now 2 of the 3 absolute saints had died, and the remaining one was running away with Hamilton. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. Let's go and take a look. Many people followed closely behind them, wanting to see the final result. Hammerdy, the lord who had been lawless in Barren City, what would happen today? The absolute saint expert took Haminti and fled frantically. His speed was amazing, and he flew over the barren city like a beam of light. Damn it, I'll definitely ask my father to kill them. No, I'll make them beg for death. Hamilton roared in his heart. His face was twisted. Chapter 1852. The Emperor, to be appears. Chapter 1852. The Emperor to be appears Hammert. Not only did he come from a good family, but his father was also the #1 master in Barren City. He also had amazing talent. He had a low-class heaven spiritual body, and the potential to become a sovereign. He was known as the only person with the potential to become a sovereign in Barren City for hundreds of thousands of years. With his status and talent, his path had been smooth. Ever since he was young, he had always been able to get whatever he wanted. This time, not only did Qiuyu dare to disobey him, but Lu Ming also dared to injure him, insult him, and even kill so many experts from the Ha family. He must make Lu Ming regret it. However, the next moment he shouted in fear. Quick, increase the speed! That was because at that moment, Lu Ming and Qiuyu's speed suddenly increased greatly. It was as if they were traveling through the void. Their speed was shocking as they approached them at an extreme speed. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu's speed suddenly increased greatly because of bubbles. Bubbles cast a space-time law that enveloped the two of them. The two of them seemed to be able to travel through the void. Hurry, hurry, we're almost at the HA family's house. Hurry up. Hammer kept shouting, his body trembling in fear. Young master, you go first. I'll block them. Let's go. The absolute saint said, and threw Hamilton forward. He stopped in his tracks, and a saber appeared in his hand. He slashed dozens of times at Lu Ming and Nangong Wuk. As for Hammert, he was frantically running forward. This place was not far from the HA family mansion. As long as he could escape to the HA family, his life would be saved. Let's join forces and kill him, Lu Ming said. Chirping, the bubble opened its mouth and spat out a transparent bubble. Then it disappeared. In the next moment, it reappeared on the Absolute Saint's body and enveloped him. Chaos finger. Lu Ming pointed his finger, and a huge finger shot towards the other party. Xiao Yu's two scimitars spun rapidly, turning into a destructive storm that swept toward the other party. There was no suspense. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Xiao Yu could fight against an ordinary Absolute Saint in the upper tier. They could even defeat and kill their opponent. Now that the three of them had joined forces, their power was even more terrifying. The attacks of the three landed, and the Absolute Saint expert didn't even have time to scream before he was killed. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu rushed past them without stopping. The people who followed from the distance were dumbfounded. The shock in their hearts was unimaginable. An absolute saint in the Great Perfection realm was instantly killed. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu's cultivation base was clearly only at the Supreme Saint realm. These people are definitely the Peerless Heaven's favorites from outside Barren City. Interesting. We're almost at the HA family mansion. I wonder what the result is. Many people followed, wanting to find out what was going on. In front of him, Hamilton saw that the Absolute Saint expert had been killed in an instant. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He held his breath and rushed forward. A vast and majestic mansion appeared before his eyes. Hammert was overjoyed. They had arrived at the HA family's mansion. Once they arrived, he would be safe. Next, it would be his crazy revenge. However, behind him, Lu Ming and Xiao Yu had no intention of stopping. They were charging towards him at an alarming speed. Hammert was almost scared to death. He shouted as he charged. Help, help! Father, help! At that moment, Lu Ming and Xiao Yu were approaching Hammerdy at top speed. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand, and an Absolute Saint weapon pierced through the void toward Hamilton. Hammerdy wanted to dodge in fear, but he realized that he could not do so at all. His ability was far inferior to Lu Ming's. Audacious fanatic, you're courting death. At this moment, a loud shout rang out from the HA family mansion. A ray of light shot out and collided with Lu Ming's Absolute Saint weapon, knocking it away. Then, a figure flickered out, and a terrifying aura bloomed in all directions. Father, Hammerdy was ecstatic. It was a middle-aged man in a brocade robe. He looked a bit like Hammerdy. He was Hammerdy's father, Ha Zheng, the #1 master of Barren City, and an expert of the Emperor-to-be realm. Ha Zheng has appeared. The young man and woman are in danger. The people who were following him all stopped far away. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu also stopped. Father, these two people are extremely audacious. They have killed several elders. Hurry up and kill them. No, leave that woman behind. I want her to suffer a fate worse than death. Hammert shouted. Seeing Ha Zheng, Hammerdy was relieved. He knew that he was fine now. Next, he would take his revenge. Lu Ming and the rest had actually made him look so miserable. He should be hacked into pieces. He should be killed. Ha Zheng's gaze was very cold as he swept a cold glance at Lu Ming and Xiao Yu. Let's go. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xiao Yu. The two of them moved, turning into two shadows and retreating. You want to leave? Die. Ha Zheng shouted and threw a punch. A vast fist force pierced through the void and headed toward Lu Ming and the others. I can't resist it, let's go. Lu Ming was about to ask Bubbles to open the space-time tunnel and leave this place. However, at this moment, a 1,000-meter-long sword radiance appeared and slashed at Ha Zheng's fist radiance. With a loud boom, the sword radiance, and the fist radiance disappeared at the same time. Lu Ming was stunned. He did not leave but stopped in the distance. Ha Zheng's gaze looked up into the sky, where a white-haired elder appeared. This person had a long sword on his back and looked like a sage. It's the Mo clan's clan head. Around them someone exclaimed. The Mo family was one of the 7 most powerful forces in Barren City. The head of the Mo family was an absolute saint in the Great Circle. Why did he help Lu Ming and block Ha Zheng's attack? Not only the others, even Lu Ming himself was puzzled. It was his first time in Barren City, and he didn't know anyone. Mo Qingshan, you know those two? Ha Zheng asked in a deep voice. I don't know him. Mo Qingshan shook his head. I don't know you and you want to stop me? It seems like you are tired of living. A hint of killing intent flashed through Ha Zheng's eyes. Ha Zheng, what big words you have. At this moment, a deep voice came from another direction, and then a burly middle-aged man appeared. At the same time, other figures also appeared in other directions. Including Mo Qingshan, there were a total of 6 figures. Leaders of the 6 major forces, what's going on? The leaders of the 6 major forces have all arrived. Could it be because of that young man? That's impossible. What's going on? Upon seeing the 6 figures, the scene broke out into a discussion. These 6 people were the leaders of the other 6 forces in Barren City. Each of them was in the great circle of the Absolute Saint realm. Why were they all here at the same time? Many people were puzzled. What's the matter for the 6 of you to come to my Ha family? Ha Zheng's face darkened. Could it be because of those 2? Then, he turned to look at Lu Ming and Qiuyu. I've already said that we don't know those 2. We're here to look for you. Mo Qingshan squinted his eyes and said, You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.